Hey guys, Bimothy Tishop here, and just for the hell of it, I'm going to do a tier list of all Lost episodes. I've been wanting to do it for a while, been kind of itching, so I'm just going to get started. I'm not going to do some big intro or anything. We have the pilot, the first episode of Lost. Pilot definitely is an S episode. It's the first episode of the show, and if you've seen it, you know why. The entire show is based on it. The effects are wonderful. You get to know all the characters. It's got a little bit of humor, like with Boone and the whole pen thing, you know, and you're getting to know people, and there's these sweeping shots of people sitting on the beach, trying to figure out what they're going to do, wondering if rescue is coming. Pilot Part 2, if I'm being honest, I think it's actually better than Part 1. Because this is where we really start to get underway with, like, Jack and Charlie and Kate, you know, and, of course, obviously, the big ending where they make it to the end, and they find out where the distress signal is coming from, and they find out what it is. And, you know, when I first started watching this show, I rented it. I rented the DVDs from a family video up the road. I was like walking distance from it. And, like, I rented them one disc at a time, and I started renting them two at a time because I got so into it. And this was the moment right here, at the end of Pilot, at the end of 102, when Charlie said, "Where are we?" And I was like, yeah, I'd like to know that myself. Tabula Rasa, yeah, you know, Kate is not my favorite character in the show. I don't even know if she would be, like, top 50%. She probably would. But definitely not top 25%. It's good, but I think I might have to put it in B for now. Like, it introduces her whole story about how she's, you know, on the run from the law, and we don't really know why that is yet, and she gets in the truck with the guy, and then the police guy comes and finds her and says, I don't know, I just don't really care that much about... You know, and it's nothing against Evangeline Lilly. She's a fantastic actress, and this was actually her first acting role, so it's really surprising how well she pulled it off. Like, to me, the parts of the episode where we look at Michael and Walt, because you start to learn about Michael and Walt in this episode, and about how Walt is talking to Locke and all this stuff, and Michael's like, you don't need to be messing around with him. What are you doing? You just stay with me. I'm the one you can trust. I think this might also be the episode where they have the birthday conversation. That might be later. I think it actually is later. And, of course, Walt's birthday is August 24th. How do I remember this shit? Okay, episode 104, Walkabout. It didn't even take that long. We've already got one here. Walkabout is a god-tier episode. It is the episode that will tell you whether or not you like this show. You know, I mean, I don't even really have to explain it. You know, it's our first Locke episode. We learn about how he's trying to go on the big walkabout. And they pull it back until the very end of the show, and you find out that the reason he can't do it is because he's in a freaking wheelchair. And yet, even despite all that, he has this defiance that just defines his character. I hate that defiance and define sound so similar because it sounds stupid the way I say it, but yeah. I mean, it's not even just the end of the episode that makes it great either. The entire episode where they're chasing after a boar trying to get food, you know, to feed the people and everything because they don't know if rescue's coming. And at this point, people are starting to give up, and the people are kind of starting to disagree about whether or not what they should do about it, or whether they should even keep their hopes up. And and they also encounter the monster for the first time in this episode. So yeah, no reason why this one shouldn't be all the way at the top. There's not going to be a lot of episodes at the top, but this is going to be one of them. White Rabbit. I don't know. My first thought is it's great, but it's not great. I'll put it in A for now. I don't know. I don't really have a lot to say. I mean, this is our first Jack episode, which, in my opinion, there's way too many Jack episodes. And honestly, Jack is not the most relatable character, really. I don't think he is. I mean, he's a surgeon, okay, sure, and he has this whole big thing. I mean, I guess the stuff about him not being sure of himself, that is relatable. Because you got this thing about it where he doesn't want to be a leader, and Locke says, but everyone looks to you, you know, and you are the leader. And he has that talk with Locke about faith versus science and all that stuff. Yeah, like, the conversations they have about faith versus logic and all that are interesting, but at this point you don't really know what they're talking about, or how do you apply this knowledge that they're throwing back and forth at each other. I don't really know. So, yeah, but, you know, it's a good episode, though. It definitely belongs in A, because it introduces a lot of stuff that becomes very important much later in the series. But in the end, he is able to find the water in the caves, and thanks to good old Smokey for that. Oh my god, that's a spoiler. House of the Rising Sun, let me see. What are we looking at here? This is that Kate, or this is Jen and Son, actually, is it not? Yeah. Yeah, this is the episode that really brings up, you know, it starts with Jin attacking Michael, you know, and it turns out to be over a watch, and so a lot of really weird stuff there. I'm gonna put it in B for now. I would say probably above Tabula Rasa. And of course, it's also the episode where you find out Sun speaks English. Boy, was that a bombshell. Maybe a little early for that, but then again, it would have been more shocking, I think, if they'd revealed it later. But still, like, it's better that they reveal it now so she can actually communicate with the other, you know, survivors. And so she becomes a much more important and interesting character because of that. There's, like, the whole conflict of, do we move to the caves or we stay at the beach? Like, I can't imagine why anyone would stay at the beach at that point. But then again, I hate the sun, so, you know, I guess that's just me. The Moth. The Moth is really one of those really good self-contained episodes. I don't know if it deserves S rank, but I would definitely say it's better than White Rabbit. I almost want to put it in S, but I'm trying to save these for the really good ones. In fact, even Pilot may need to be down to A, but and Pilot Part 2 and S. I might... You know what? I think I'm going to do that. I'll put it above The Moth, though. The Moth is just a really nice self-contained episode. It's a Charlie episode, you know, and he's giving up his drugs, and there's not really that much to say about it. It's a good little episode. It's another one of those episodes that make you realize, yeah, this is a really nice show. I think I'm going to like this, you know? It just makes you feel good. You get to the end, and I always found the music kind of weirdly almost depressing at the end, but I don't know. Especially like when they first dig out of the cave, there's something about the chords that they play in that scene that makes me feel weird. Let's see. Okay, so Confidence Man. Oh boy. I'm a little bit torn on where I want to put this one. I kind of feel like I want to put it in B, maybe between these two. I do like Sawyer a lot as a character. Even when we first start out and you're supposed to hate him, I still thought he was interesting. And you got this whole thing with Saeed, like, torturing him. They were kind of quick to really jump into the torture stuff. I mean, this is like the first half of the first season, and we already have Saeed torturing somebody. It's like, you know, I get that over the rest of the seasons he felt bad about it. You find out that he felt bad about it, but I find it hard to believe that in the first week or the first 2 weeks on the island, he would already resort to that, you know, after how he supposedly felt so bad about doing it. But, you know, like, the thing that Sawyer did, it was bad, but, man, withholding an inhaler, and then it turns out he didn't have it in the first place. He was just fucking with him, and it's just like, oh, I don't know. He was definitely a pretty despicable asshole. The lovable asshole, I guess, as you might put it. I guess this episode is also where you start to hear it, well, like, where you learn about Boone and Shannon, because it's Shannon's inhaler. So I don't know. It's kind of all over the place, but I do think it's an interesting episode. The flashback, especially in this one, it really sets up Sawyer's character to, you know, go places. Solitary. Okay, so this is the one, this is the Rousseau episode. And again, it's like they introduce this mystery of the French woman, and right away they answer it. They just can't wait to answer it. I wish they were this overzealous about all the mysteries they brought up, especially the ones in season 2, but beside the point. Anyway, Hurley makes the golf course. That's actually one of the more feel-good aspects of the show. I think this is definitely a B, but I'd probably go right about there. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good episode. You know, like I said, the golf course is a feel-good stuff. But then at the same time, there's like this tonal whiplash where you got people playing golf, and then you got Saeed's past with him, you know, doing whatever he did to Nadia. I was never too clear on that, if he actually did anything to her. I guess he must have, but I'd hate to think that, but... well, you know, Nadia is just one of the most lovable characters ever, but he does meet up with Danielle, and she starts talking about the others, and then he leaves, and the ending of it is really weird, because, like, he's in the forest, and he starts hearing those whispers right after she brings it up. I'm like, damn, too bad. And then the episode just ends and leaves you wondering. So I always felt like that cliffhanger was a little bit underwhelming. I mean, they don't all have to have great cliffhangers, but yeah. In season 1, they had a lot of endings where they would end with a song or something. And then they kind of stopped doing that later in the show, which I always kind of missed that, because I did like those weird songy endings. But anyway, Raised by Another was always one of my favorites. When I first started renting the DVD, I mean, eventually I bought the DVDs, and I sat there and watched them like 100 times. Probably more like 10 times each, but anyway. Raised by Another was always one of my favorites, though. I would say it's even better than The Moth, honestly. Because... you know, Claire didn't really get enough episodes in the show. When you look back, like, at all 6 seasons, I think she had, like, a grand total of 3 episodes that were actually devoted to her. Maybe 4, and only 2 of them were flashbacks. We only ever got 2 flashback Claire episodes. This one, and then the one in season 3, where she's, like, the tattoo artist or whatever. But this is where, like, you know, they finally start to introduce the others, and they're starting to become, you know, a threat to the group and everything, and it's really through Claire that they start to introduce that. This is also where Hurley gets a moment to really shine in his, what he eventually becomes like the leader of the island by the end of the show. So it's good that they have moments like this where Hurley really steps up and says, hey, we need to compile a list of the survivors here and, figure out what's going on. And it's good for him, that he's got this quality of knowing what to do and how to, what to tell people to do also, how to get people to help him out. I think that's pretty much all I was going to say about that one. I don't think there really was that much else. I mean, they do introduce Ethan in this episode, and God, what a stinker he is, I tell you. All the best cowboys have daddy issues. This is probably my first C episode, if I'm being honest. Basically, they find out that Ethan wasn't on the manifest for the flight, and so this sets things in motion for them to go chase after him. And really, the best part of this episode is the end of it, when Boone and Locke find the hatch, which, that is the episode where that happens. But otherwise, it's just, people going around talking, not knowing what to do, and Claire's scared out of her mind, and rightfully so, and people don't know whether to believe her, and because that comes up too. I don't know, that might have been actually the next episode. But as far as that goes, the next episode is not much better. Whatever the case may be, also a C, maybe even a D, I'm not sure. This is a Kate episode. Wait, is it? Yeah, it's Kate, when she robs the bank. To be honest, though, I did find the bank stuff kind of interesting because I didn't see it coming. I should have, but I didn't. And she goes in to rob the bank, and then she pretends to be like a victim or something, and then they trust her, and then she ends up holding them up or whatever. And they find the briefcase, and then they go swimming for it, and then she runs away with it, and he wants to get into it, and then it turns out to be a toy plane is all that's in there, and nobody cares, and I'm just moving on. Hearts and Minds. This one to me is like, Hearts and Mind is the closest thing to just another episode that Season 1 gets. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because I think a lot of the best Season 1 episodes are the just another episodes. So I'm definitely putting this one on B, probably above Solitary, right in the middle. That looks about right. It is the Boone episode, and I'm not crazy about Boone and Shannonette's characters, and I don't think their story is really that interesting either. But there's a lot of random things happen in this episode. You have these random scenes with characters like Locke and Saeed with the compass, and he's saying this is supposed to be pointing north, and Saeed is like, no, wait, north is that way. What's going on? So they're like introducing all this little stuff, and they have the Boone hallucinations, and they're also starting to kind of get into the, the whole hatch thing, and finally starting to introduce what it is, and, what we're going to do about it, and stuff like that. And Locke and Boone had that little conversation, and that conversation about the guy who's making the statue, he's just staring at the giant rock, and somebody asks him, what is he doing? And he says, I'm working. I always love that story. Locke had the best stories, especially back in Season 1. Special. This is definitely, oh boy. This might be an S episode, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it is. I don't know if it's as good as Pilot Part 2, but Walt is one of my favorite characters in the show, and I think they badly underutilized him. I mean, obviously, there was the age thing. They couldn't do anything about that, really. But this, I always loved Michael and Walt as characters, and I just feel like they got so shafted in the show, and this episode special was like basically them in their prime. It's as good as it was ever going to get with them. The next Michael episode after this, we don't even need to talk about how bad that is, but... But yeah, for the moment, though, they had introduced something, and it was fascinating, and it made me want to see more. And for that alone, I put it as high as I do, even if they didn't follow up on it. In the moment, it was interesting, and it was awesome, and it was, dare I say, special. So, Homecoming, oh man, this is another one that's kind of, I would definitely put this, I don't know if I'd put it all the way down, yeah, I'll put it at C. It's a very high C, though. It's a very high C. Anybody still drink those? This is a Charlie episode again, and he cons that girl Lucy, whatever her name is. And, like, there's stuff happening on the island, too. They're trying to figure out how to capture Ethan, I think, is at this point. I mean, I think the best part of this episode is indeed, like, I almost want to put this in a low B instead of a high C here, because now that I think about it, this is the one where Charlie shoots Ethan. It's right there in the thumbnail, actually. They do devise a plan to capture him. Is this not also the one where they find Charlie hanging in the tree and Jack brings him back to life? Because that's a great scene. And you think for sure Charlie's gone. Yeah, I'm going to move that up to B. I'll move it to B. In fact, I'll put it above Tabula Rasa, actually. Wait, yeah. Not the best episode, not a terrible episode either. It's bordering on just another episode, and I do also mean that in a good way. But there's so many times in this show where they show scenes that have nothing to do with the main plot. And some of those are like the best parts, because that's where you really get to know the characters. Outlaws. When I rented the DVDs, I remember there were certain episodes that just kind of fell in the cracks, and I would see the title and I wouldn't know like what the episode was about, or like I'd have some idea about who the main character of the episode was, but I wouldn't remember what happened in it. And then those would always be the episodes that had all the best hidden gems. Locke tells a really nice story in this one. This is a Sawyer episode, and he's basically in jail, and Kate and Sawyer, they're just hunting a boar, and the boar, knocks over his tent, and then Saeed is like, perhaps he wanted to go camping. That's one of his best lines ever. I still don't think that justifies putting it any higher than like a mid-B. I'd say higher than Solitary, barely higher than Hearts and Minds. Not higher than Confidence Man. In translation, okay, so here's the thing. I remember thinking, oh, Lost gets really good around the 5th disc of Season 1, and that starts with In Translation. So fortunately, you don't have to wait long to find out the true nature of Jin, and this is the episode where they do it. You see the other side of the story, from the same exact scene that happens in the bathroom where she slaps him because she doesn't know why he's all bloody when he came home from work. And then when you see his side of it, it turns out he's working for her dad, and he wants him to be a hitman, but he can't go through with killing the guy, so you tell he really has like good morals. This is definitely an A. Better than White Rabbit, better than The Moth. Not better than Raised by Another. Yeah, it's going to go right there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I always loved In Translation. It's one of my favorites, because Jin is just a great character. And at this point, he's still kind of a dick, but man, he just gets better and better the further you get into the show. Oh man, I forgot, which episode was it where Michael suggested building a raft? That was special, wasn't it? So I'm glad this is up here, because I loved that. I loved that somebody just went forward and said, let's just do this, just build a freaking raft, man. Like, somebody was going to think it, so I'm glad they really addressed it and said, because if we went for an entire season and nobody so much as suggested building a raft, it would have been stupid. Somebody had to, and I was just so glad that he did. And that it didn't take very long, it's like you're middle of season 1, somebody's all ready. And, it turns out the raft he built looks really cool, too. And I think this is the episode where you actually get to see it, Well, this is the episode where the raft almost gets burned, right? Yeah. Somebody sets it on fire, and then it turns out to be Walt, and he says, don't open that thing. And, so much for that, I tell you. Anyway, numbers. Oh, dude. Oh, boy. This is definitely an S, at least. I think this might be a top-tier S. I don't know if it's an SS. I'm saving that for the best of the best of the best of the best of the best here. But numbers is freaking awesome. You know why. I don't need to explain it, man. Hurley episodes are always awesome. There's not a Hurley episode that probably won't be at least A or above. I mean, we'll have to see as we go along. But, yeah. Hurley sets out with that crazy rap song, looking for Danielle to get some dynamite. And honestly, I wasn't too crazy about that. Like, I'm just trying to find Danielle, whoop-de-doo. It's this flashback that really makes this episode what it is. And you first find out about the numbers, and holy God. And, and just the idea that somebody's stuck on this island after winning the lottery, that's such a unique idea. Like, the last thing you're thinking is that one of these people stuck on this island is a lottery winner who now can't access his money because he's stuck on this freaking island, And yet, despite all that, Hurley doesn't even seem to mind that he can't get to his money. He's just living his best life out here, and it's kind of awesome. I dread when we start to get later in the seasons, because we're going to start to see some real stinkers coming up here real soon. I don't know. Honestly, I think Season 2 is my favorite season, so... Deus Ex Machina. Okay, so this is the one where Locke and Boone discover the plane in the jungle. This is another great episode. I would say definitely an A. I don't know if it's as good as Special, but it's up there. Locke has another fantastic flashback. This flashback literally made me sick to my stomach to watch. It was so bad. The way his father treated him, how he got in the car and he said, "You're not wanted." The look on Terry O'Quinn's face when his dad says that, he like winces, and it's just, oh my God, it's so heartbreaking to watch. Oh my God. And then like after he gets out of the hospital and he runs away from the hospital, and you can see the blood on his shirt because he just had his kidney sucked out, or taken out. Sucked out, really? And that scene, that was the scene that actually made me sick to my stomach, not the father scene, but that one made me pretty mad too. I just felt so bad for that dude, man. Anyway, there's not much else going on with this episode, but I think that flashback alone makes the deal right there. I think this is also the episode where Sawyer has the headaches and has to get the glasses, and then Hurley is like, looks like somebody steamrolled Harry Potter. Do No Harm, another great one for sure. Maybe not the best one on disc 5, but it's a solid A. It's better than The thing I like about this episode is it's when the baby is born. This is the first episode that's probably going to make you cry when you watch the show. It's the first one that made me cry, for what little bit I'm capable of that. I would say so. Yeah, but Claire has the baby, and that's basically it. Oh, and Boone dies, of course, because, like, Jack brought him back, and Locke lied about how he died, and it caused all sorts of problems. Man, if season 1 has taken me this long, I don't know, man. So I think I'm going to try to speed up a little bit here. Okay, let me see. Episode 21, The Greater Good. This is probably my least... Well, I don't know. Born to Run is not that great either. Greater Good is, I'd say, probably a B. Like a low B. Below Hearts and Minds. Better than Solitary, though. Yeah, I'll put it right there. Wait, no. Right there. Yeah. Yeah, that looks pretty good. It's funny how I keep putting the same episodes next to each other. The two Sawyers next to each other. Two Saids next to each other. I like The Greater Good better than Solitary, though, honestly. I thought Assam was a cool character. I liked that they played video games in it. I thought, I mean, I don't know, it's not something that a person should laugh at, but, like, when Saeed gets in the car with Assam and he's like, no, it's not in the car. He's sitting on the bench and he says, will you do this with me? And Assam is like, yes, I will. You know, just, I don't know, man. When you're talking about doing something like that, you wouldn't be so... That's the thing, though. I haven't lived their lives. I haven't lived their culture, so I couldn't say for sure. I just think the idea of somebody saying, will you do this with me, when what they're about to do is that, and then for the person to just be like, yes, I will. You know, like they're honored to do it. But again, it's like, I haven't lived their lives, so I don't know. Born to Run is another Kate episode. Kate episodes always suck, but this one's better than the other two that were in this season. It was better than Tabula Rasa and definitely better than whatever the case may be. I'd say it's even better than Homecoming. No, it's better than Solitary, too. Yeah, I'll put it right here. This is the one where Kate visits her childhood friend and they listen to the time capsule. I love little shit like that, and I thought it was so cool. But then, you know, she has to run away and the guy ends up getting killed, and just what a waste, you know, to introduce a character like that and then just kill him off just for dramatic effect. I mean, I get why they did it, because it makes her feel guilty for being, you know, who she is. I mean, when you find out eventually why she did what she did, and I personally, you know, kind of understand. I don't know if I condone it, but I definitely understand it anyway. But now because of that situation, she's getting other people killed. It just makes her feel even more guilty. Hell, I'm sympathizing with her more now than I did when I watched the show. Come on, man. So, Exodus Part 1 and 2. So when I originally decided I was going to do this, I thought, you know, these 2-parters and 3-parters and stuff, I really want to list them all as a single episode. And I think for Exodus, I would like to do that. Exodus, man, these are all S tier, and they're all better than Numbers. I'm going to put them all together because I count this all as one episode. I know I didn't do that with the pilot, and that's probably the only time I won't do it. Any others, like the finales that are multiple parts, I'll just put them all together as one. Exodus is the second episode that made me cry, again, for what little bit I can. They don't, you know, the tears don't really drip down, you know, but your eyes get all watery and you have to get a napkin. You might have to blow your nose. Like, this is the one where the raft takes off, and it's such a beautiful moment, and everybody's waving goodbye to each other. And this is the first time that in the show where I felt like everybody was really coming together and, you know, living as one. And obviously there were outliers there. There was Locke and, you know, but Jin and Sun making up. Oh my God, Jin and Sun making up, and Shannon hugging the dog and just everything like that. And Walt coming on the raft and saying goodbye and everything. Oh, it's just all so good, man. Now that I think about it, it wasn't Shannon hugging the dog. It was Shannon hugging Walt when Walt left his dog with her, because he felt bad for her, and just that makes you love Walt even more as a character. Makes it even more of a tragedy that he didn't get, you know, more. So what is this above? Oh, that's Pilot Part 2. You know, I think Special should be above Pilot Part 2, honestly. I'm going to move that. Yeah. You know, it's not better than Numbers, but it is better than Pilot Part 2. Alright. Okay, on to Season 2. Season 2, Man of Science, Man of Faith. Okay. Well, after waiting for God knows how many months, you know, to resolve that cliffhanger of them opening up the hatch and looking down into it, we got to see what was inside. And yeah, I gotta say, it was interesting. This is definitely an A, not an S. It's not better than Pilot, I definitely say that. It's not better than Raised by Another. It is... Ooh, I don't think it's better than In Translation either. I don't even think it's better than The Moth. Maybe? I'm gonna put it right here, just above Do No Harm. Yeah. Because a lot of answers, get given in this episode where you find out about Desmond, and you find out that there's this whole coincidence where Jack met Desmond off of the island, and then you have that part where Jack is like, I married her! And that whole thing. Sorry for shouting. That's the first time I've shouted in this video, and that hurt my throat a little bit to do that. Shannon also sees Walt in this episode, and if that actually went anywhere, maybe I'd feel more inclined to list this higher, but hey, it is what it is. Adrift? Yeah. I think we got our first D, y'all. And I hate putting it here because I love Michael. I love Michael and Walt. I love their episodes. Even I love this episode just because Michael's in it. The first time you see Michael's flashback and you see his so symmetrical face, I'm just like, this is going to be a beautiful, symmetrically faced Michael episode. And that's literally what's going through my head when I see it. But then Michael's ex-wife shows up, and dear God, what a character she is, I tell you. I don't have that much to say. The only good part of it is when Sawyer's like, what are you gonna do? Splash me? And stuff. Michael and Sawyer bantering on the raft. That part's pretty funny. And the Dharma shark, I guess, is kind of cool too, but enough about that. Orientation, here we go. Our first A from Season 2, for sure. I'm putting this one right up here, maybe just under Special. Yeah, this looks good. Well, is it better than Pilot Part 2, though? Wait, Pilot Part 1? No, that's Pilot Part 2. I'm starting to think Pilot Part 1 should be higher. Pilot Part 1 should be an X. S. I'm putting too many S's here. I'm too easy of an S, aren't I? Deus Ex Machina. Oh, dang it, but that's so good, though. That flashback of Locke with a nauseating kidney. No, okay, Orientation. I'm going to leave it right here for now. I might change my mind later. But this one introduces the Orientation film, which is another mystery that I really wish... I don't know. They did answer some of it. They filled in some of the blanks, but there were still other pieces of that film that got cut out that we never got to see. And we also never got to find out, when, where, and why Rodzinski made the edits in the first place. He just says Rodzinski made some edits. But when we do learn about Rodzinski, it's like, we never see him do this, He's just this dick. He goes trying to order people around. It's like, I would love to know why he did it, because I could come up with reasons, in my head why he might have done it, but I really wish, that the gods that created this world would have made that themselves instead of me having to make it. Because I'm not the god of this world, so I can't, dictate what happened. I can't decide that. Everybody Hates Hugo? Man, I love Everybody Hates Hugo, dude. I don't know if it's an S episode, but boy, it's up there. I'd say it's better than Raised by Another. Not as good as Pilot Part 1, though. I have a soft spot for these episodes, and I really find Hurley to be one of the most relatable characters in the show. And in this one, he's tasked with taking care of the food in the hatch. And the introduction where he's just standing there and there's like all this stuff. I really love the flashbacks too, where he wins the lottery, but he doesn't tell his friend about it. He just quits his job. Then his friend quits his job too, and you meet up with Starla. There was so much they could have done with Starla, man. She was such a cool character. Not to mention she was cute as hell. But yeah, I just loved that moment when his friend is sitting in the car and like all the news reporters come up and say, hey, that's the guy that won the lottery. And his friend looks back at him and there's just this look of disappointment on his face. Like, why didn't you tell me, man? And it's just, oh man, it's such a good setup. One of Hurley's other big stories that they never really explained, I don't know if they needed to explain it, was the story where he caused a bunch of people to die because his weight caused a deck to collapse or something, and there was like 23 people on it, and it was only designed to hold 8, the numbers and all that. But I always thought that maybe part of the reason that happened was because he got in a fight with his friend at a party, and he tackled him onto the deck, and that's what caused the deck to fall. So it wasn't so much his weight that caused the deck to fall, as the fact that he jumped out onto the deck and landed on it. His weight would have still had something to do with it, but beside the point. I just like this episode, and I'm going to shut up about it now. And Found. They started doing this thing with Jin and Sun episodes where they would take an expression like Lost and Found or Lost in Translation, and the episode would be titled after the expression just without the word lost. I'm not sure where to put this one. This one I'm a little torn on. I don't think it's one of the better episodes, honestly, of the show altogether. It's at least a B, but it's, this is the one where Sun loses her wedding ring. Actually, man, I tell you. See, I have a weird history with Season 2, because I'm going to put this at the bottom. Yeah. I have a weird history with Season 2, because when I started renting the DVDs for Season 1, the show, Season 2, was already on the air, and they were up to episode 5 or 6. And so the first episode that I ever watched live was episode 7 of Season 2. which is coming up here in a second. Let me just go ahead and put Abandoned. Abandoned is probably a C. I'm just going to put it right there. Mainly on the basis that it's a Shannon episode. She does die in it, so, yeah, that's too bad. Didn't think her flashback was too terribly interesting, but anyway, the first episode I ever watched live was The Other 28 Days, which I'm going to put this one in B for sure. Probably top of B. Put it right there. It's, you know, actually, this might be an A. Yeah, this one's an A. This is where you finally get to see the tailies with their side of the story and what happened there. And they had it a lot worse than the other people, so yeah. But this was the first episode I watched live. So at that point, I hadn't seen the first 6 episodes. I'd only heard about them. So I kept reading about this guy named Desmond, and I was wondering, who the hell is that? And what do they mean by this? And what happened with, you know, this and that? Oh, wait, there's food in the hatch. What's going on here? And so, oh, wow. I don't know, man. So I wish I could have watched it live from the beginning to see that reveal at the beginning of Season 2. Probably would have been a lot more shocking to me if I hadn't already known there was just a guy named Desmond and he was going to be whatever. Anyway, Collision, that's our Ana Lucia episode where she has the flashback. She's a cop and she, I don't know, she lets a guy loose because she wants to take matters into her own hands and kill him herself. Ana Lucia is not the most likable character. I'll give this a high C, but that's about the best I can do for it, I think. In fact, yeah, it's definitely better than those two from Season 1, but I think that's about as far as I'll go with it. The best part of this episode, Collision, is the ending, when Bernard and Rose reunite. It's one of the best moments of Season 2 altogether, honestly. So, yeah. I didn't mention it about And Found, but the end of that episode is especially tear-jerking, too. When Sun does find the ring, her acting in that scene where she, like, ugh, I can't even describe it. You just have to see it for yourself. So 209, what Kate did? Well, we definitely find out what she did, that's for sure. I'd say this is probably one of the better Kate episodes. This is right up here with, like, Confidence Man. I'll put it right here, because I don't think it's as good as this Jin episode here for sure, but, yeah, I mean, they just reveal what Kate did. That's basically all there is. I mean, another nice thing about this episode is we're starting to get to know Mr. Echo, because this all the tailies have just come back, and we're starting to get to know them, and Mr. Echo is one of the big ones. You know, both literally and figuratively. He also has, like, the extra piece of the film that they can watch. I think this is the episode where they do that. It's actually pretty cool that they managed to work that into a Kate episode, though. Have them watching the film in there. Okay, the 23rd Psalm. I remember oversleeping for this one, and when I woke up, the first thing I saw was Echo's face on the screen, and I'm like, oh boy, what is this? And those strong-ass sepia tones, I was just like, I don't know if I'm going to like this episode. I ended up liking it quite a bit. I don't know, boy. I don't know if it's an A, but it's definitely at least, well, no, it has to be an A. But I'll put it just under The Other 28 Days, because I don't know if it's as iconic as that one is. But, oh, yeah, this is also the one where Charlie's heroin problem comes. Yeah, we need to move this up, dude. Maybe not a lot, because that's not a reason to, but yeah, like what the situation that creates with Echo sending Charlie out, or going out in the woods with Charlie to look for them, and then seeing the smoke monster, those were all pretty cool moments, no doubt about it. Because now, you know, you're wondering, and you see all the little flashbacks from Echo's life inside of the smoke, and, you know, starting to learn a little more about what's going on with that thing. It is kind of surprising how consistent overall the smoky stuff was when you look back at it. The hunting party, this is just the one where they go in the jungle, they meet up with the others, and he's like, Walt's a very special boy. He's so special, we had to write him off the show. That one's going in C. Okay. Fire plus water, yeah, this is another kind of, wow, that's a weird thumbnail. You know, the piano out in the ocean. There was a lot of cool imagery in this episode. I'd say it definitely deserves at least a, boy. No, I gotta put this one on C also. I'll give it a high C, but it's definitely a C. Locke beating up Charlie at the end, just like taking over, and just the whole thing with Locke and Claire was kind of creepy. Like, I love Locke and all, and I love the chemistry with Locke and Claire, but I just could never really get behind that relationship. That's not that they, you know, I didn't catch the vibe that they were like sweet on each other or anything, but yeah, Locke was kind of moving in a little bit on territory that had nothing to do with him, and I never understood why he was doing that. I didn't know what the motivation was. I thought it was really sweet when he built her the crib. That was cute as hell, but this thing with him, like, trying to take over and bust Charlie out, you know, and I understand why, though, because Charlie's back on the weed, or so he thinks, you know, and so he has every reason to believe it, but But the fact that Charlie never, well, okay, so here's the thing though. He was stashing the Mary Jane statues, or whatever they're called. So maybe he did deserve to be distrusted a little bit, but yeah. So things are looking kind of bad for season 2, and then all of a sudden you have this episode, The Long Con. Well, let me tell you, this was the episode where I realized that Sawyer was going to become one of my favorite characters. I'm putting this one in A. No, well, is it S? Dude, I don't know if it's S. It's at the bottom of S. You know what? I'll put it at top of A. Right above Pilot. I actually do think I might like it more than Pilot Part 1. Sawyer just has so many one-liners in this episode. You know, the one about trying to get the high score on Donkey Kong, and he's like, oh, I think he went out for a pack of smokes, and, you know, and at the end he has the big speech about, you know, all that matters now are guns, and if you want one, you're gonna have to come to me to get it. His delivery is brilliant, and his symmetrical last face is awesome in that scene too. I don't know what it is with me and symmetrical faces, man. So that's a great episode. But then we have One of Them, which is, I'd say, mostly average. This is about as average of an episode as you could get here. It's not as good as Outlaws. It's not as good as Heart and Minds. So this is the one where, well, you know, but this one is the one that introduces Ben Linus. So wait, let's move it back up. Because freaking Ben Linus, baby. So yeah, they bring Ben Linus back to the hatch, and they start asking questions, and Saeed gets ready to do the torture thing for the second time now in the first, 30 episodes of the show. Well, no, this was like 36 at this point, maybe 40. Yeah, maybe. But again, I felt like they rushed it a little too much with the torture. Like, they could have spent more time talking to him a little bit instead of going straight to that. I don't know, man. I wasn't a big fan of that, but, you know, and then they had the whole flashback to make it look like, oh, it was the Americans that turned him into that. I don't know how I feel about that either. Maybe that's getting a little too political, so maybe I should just shut up about it. I suck at politics anyway. There's the Tree Frog side quest, not exactly thrilling either. In fact, you know, I might move it down a few spots just for that. But yeah. Maternity Leave, this I always thought was like the Girls' Day Out episode. It was really good the first time I watched it, and ever since then it's always been kind of meh. It's pretty good. I'd probably put it right under Confidence Man, I would say. It's where we finally get to know Libby a little bit, which would be nice if they hadn't killed her off like 7 episodes later. But, you know, and in retrospect, maybe that ruined this episode for me. Because this episode was like the start of getting to know Libby, and I thought, okay, this is great, you know, because she's a really interesting character. She's a psychiatrist, you know, we don't really have any of those on the show. We have them in flashbacks, but, you know, and for what it is, it's a good episode. There's just like this little adventure aspect to it, the girls going out, and then Kate finding the beard, but, you know, deciding not to tell anybody about it, because, hey, why not? You know, and then meanwhile, you got Jack and Locke arguing about whether or not to keep Ben's, you know, existence a secret, which I don't... Is it really that necessary to keep it a secret? I don't know. It's like, you know, people can just learn to communicate with each other. You know, because these days in TV shows, people are so critical of shows when characters don't communicate to each other. If this had just come out today, people would be all over it, man. I don't know. I love this show, but as many of you well know, I'm not, you know, afraid to criticize it too. The Whole Truth. This is one of those episodes that's okay, but then has like the most slam-bang cliffhanger that you've ever seen. This is my favorite cliffhanger in the entire show, is the Whole Truth cliffhanger, which is, you guys got any milk? That cliffhanger. That's this episode. Otherwise, it's a Sun and Jin episode where Sun thinks that she can't have kids, and then it turns out it's because of Jin. But then now she's on the island and she's pregnant, and she's like, well, I haven't been with anybody, which was also a lie, so in retrospect, that hurts a little bit. I'll put this one at a high B for sure, though. I'd say right about here. I'd say it's above Maternity Leave, yeah. What is it with these episodes? What is it with these seasons always getting good on episode 17, man? Lockdown. Oh, man. It's a Locke episode, and probably the weakest of the Locke episodes we've seen so far, though. Like, you know, because it's the one where he tries to propose to Helen just after she found out he was still smooching with his dad, you know, and it's just like, oh my god, this is the most awkward, you know, proposal ever. I understand, you know, because Locke is, like, needs to seek the approval of his dad and all, but that's really all there was to it. Is Locke getting back with his dad, doing him a favor and getting him a bunch of money, and then he had a chance to, you know, be super rich and make a bunch of money, but then he couldn't keep the secret because she found out, so... But the stuff that happens on the island in this episode is super exciting. This right here is where I think I was more into Lost than at any other point in time. was just waiting to see that next episode and see how they resolve this. This one also had a great cliffhanger when Ana Lucia and, who was it, Charlie and Saeed, I believe, came back from investigating the balloon only to find the real Henry Gale's license. This one's definitely, I would say, this is, oh boy. This is better than the other 28 Days, for sure. Let me see. It's better than White Rabbit. It's better than the 23rd Psalm. It's better than Do No Harm. It's better than Man of Science, Man of Faith. Oh boy. I think it's better than these two, too. I'm going to put it right here. Yeah, this is good. Okay. Dave. Oh, man. If there's one episode that I've probably seen more than any other one, it might just be this one. And I have no idea why. It's not like the greatest episode. It's basically another Hurley. And I just say, like, I love Hurley episodes, and there's not a bad one in the bunch. But if I had to pick one that is probably the worst, it might be this one. I'm not sure. I'm going to put this in B. I'll put it... No, it's got to be higher than this. I won't put it over House of the Rising Sun, but I'll put it over What Kate Did. Why is What Kate Did so high? Well, I guess because we found out. I feel like that should be under Confidence Man, though. Yeah, I'm going to move that there. In fact, I'll move it down to under The Whole Truth as well. And well, no, not under Maternity Leave. Yeah. Okay. I mean, we know about Dave. It's Hurley's imaginary friend, and he also starts to hook up with Libby, so that's kind of cool. Again, it might be a little bit rushed, but it's like, well, they almost had to since they were about to kill her off. These poor guys couldn't have any good times together, I tell you. I mean, at least they got to kiss, I guess. So. SOS, our first Rose and Bernard episode. I remember, like, typing out an entire synopsis about this episode to a friend of mine because they missed it. So I really got to know this episode pretty well. And it's good. I mean, the fact that it's Rose and Bernard is great. And, you know, it's kind of funny because when you're watching the show and you see them get together at the end of Collision, it's just like, oh my god, these guys are so sweet and everything. And then the first thing you see when you actually get an episode dedicated to them is them bickering, you know, like an old couple. Which kind of makes sense, though, I guess. I'll probably put it right here. It's a sweet episode. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just kind of... I don't know, dude. Yeah, there is the whole thing of him proposing to her and her saying, well, I got cancer, so maybe you don't want to do that. And he's like, I don't care. I'm a 54-year-old bachelor. Which makes me feel better about myself, being a 49-year-old bachelor. But anyway, yeah, I think I'm happy with it right here. This is pretty good. I don't know, there's just something, I don't know why. Like, I feel like I should be putting this higher, and there's something, I can't really explain what it is that I... And it's not that I don't like it, I'm putting it in B, but still... It's just something, I don't know. I just feel like not a lot really happened, and, like, Bernard, the way Bernard acts in this episode is not really... he doesn't paint him in a very nice light. He's very domineering, very controlling, and he says, like, some really mean things, you know, and... I don't know, it's like, you think he's like this super chill, nice guy, and then in this episode, he's all kind of acting a little foolish, I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that has to happen, like, not everybody can be a perfect person, you know, so I mean, you can't blame them for making him like that. It makes sense that he would be, maybe a little bit. Okay, so now we have, okay, 2 for the road. This is the one where Michael shoots Libby and Ana Lucia, and it's also an Ana Lucia episode. You needn't say much more than that to justify, oh, this is going in C. The only really interesting thing I would say about it is the that crossover of Kristen Shepherd and her and Sawyer all in the same flashback. That was pretty interesting, for sure. It's better than whatever the case may be. And they are pushing... Well, there is the stuff with Michael, because they just got Michael back, and he's telling them about the others. That is interesting, actually, yeah. I'll put it above those two. I'll put it above Collision, actually, probably. I think it's probably the better of the 2 Ana Lucia episodes. Mainly because, like, you know, Ana Lucia finally kind of comes to terms with what she's done, and she's crying to her mom to come and get her. And then her mom says, like, I'll be there when you land, mija. And it's kind of ominous because you know she's not going to land, so... But then it makes you wonder, what if her mom is on the island? Because she says, I'll be there when you land, and she landed. What if her mom was actually there? Wouldn't that have been cool? I don't know, though. Would have been a nice little bit of foreshadowing, but... No, that wouldn't have made any sense, though. That's why I'm not the one who wrote this show, thank God. Question mark? This one's pretty good, actually. This is where they find the Pearl Station, and Echo and Locke get to go out and have some adventures together, and man, these 2 can never have enough time together. This has got to be an A. not a super high A. I would say better than 23rd, better than Do No Harm, better than Man of Science, Man of Faith. Ooh, okay, now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. Is it better than The Moth? I'm not going to push for that just yet. It's a good episode, though. And, like, Echo has all these cryptic dreams, and he's like, Echo, bring the axe. And it shows a shot of the axe hitting the stump, and then it cuts to him waking up. There's all these fast cuts. It's a really mysterious episode. If ever there were a place to get lost in Lost, it's in this episode. Just for that, you know, I gotta move it up some more, just based on the fact that it made me say that just now, makes me want to move it up. I'll put it above Raised by Another. No. It can't go above Raised by Another. Raised by Another is too good, man. Of course, if it's so good, why don't you move it to the S spot? I don't know. Alright, that's all I can say about that. There is the stuff with Libby dying, and, you know, Jack is blackmailing Sawyer into giving him the medicine, or else he has to let Libby suffer, and it's, let's see, 3 minutes? Oh, no, that's not, I was thinking, Isn't Greatest Hits supposed to be here? No, that's season 3. 3 minutes, man. This is basically the Michael flashback. We find out what he did with the others, and they give him the list, and they tell him whatever. I just, like, this one's definitely better than Adrift. It's not as good as Special, but I'd say a solid B for sure. I'd probably put it right around with SOS. Right next to SOS seems good. Well, I don't know if I like it better than Hearts and Minds. It's better than The Greater Good, though. Yeah, we'll put it right there. I'm not trying to make the colors alternate here or anything. I don't know, it's just how it happens. Sometimes it feels better to do it that way. I get really infuriated at the others in this, you know, in this episode, because they just won't explain what they're doing. They separated a father from his son, you know, and Walt's trying to scream out, I love you, to his dad, and, you know, Michael says, I love you too, Walt, and then they pull him away, and it's like, what the fuck are you people doing? It's a father and a son, and you're just pulling away for what? For what? For what? You know, and they fucking won't say, you know, and it's just like, fuck off. You know, I hate them. Oh, I hate them in this episode. Oh. And just the fact that it gets me that riled up makes me want to move it up the list, actually, but, I know. It's a father and a son, you know? Seriously. Like, sure, Walt has all these superpowers. Did Walt ever appear somewhere he wasn't supposed to be? How's it even any of your business, you know? Ugh. Well, I guess it is, but what, are you saving the world or something? No, you sure weren't. It's like, oh, we take the kids so we can give them a life better than yours. Yeah, like, who are you to say whose life is better? Jeez, I don't even know. Don't even get me started, man. Live Together, Die Alone. This is the finale, so these will go together. It's the season 2 finale. It's definitely got to be S, but I would say low S, probably. The cliffhanger was kind of, I don't know, almost lame, you know, with Penny answering the phone. It's like, oh, Penny's alive. Never would have guessed that. And then on the fuselage boards, people were, like, making their avatars into that shot of Penny, and it looked so stupid, and it made me laugh every time I saw it, because of how stupid and funny it was. So, yeah. I don't like that I'm putting those above The Long Con, though, but yeah, I think it probably is better than The Long Con. Like, a lot goes on here. It's a big finale. You know, the hatch blows up for the first time. Like, that's a huge deal, yeah. Yeah, that definitely does deserve to be up there. I would almost say that's better than Deus Ex Machina, honestly. Is it? It's that Locke flashback in Deus Ex Machina, man. I love it so much. I hate it, and I love it because I hate it. I hate Locke's dad, too, man. But, ugh, I don't know, man. Anyway, I think we're done with Season 2 now, so where does that put us on time? Okay, we got Season 2 done slightly faster than Season 1. Let's just go on to Season 3, then. A Tale of Two Cities. Well, that's definitely a B episode if I've ever seen one. I will put it... This is tricky. So this is the episode where we get introduced to Juliet, which she's cool. Elizabeth Mitchell is a fantastic actress, despite that perpetual smirk that she always has on her face. You know, I never would have guessed it's the same lady that played in Frequency, like, 4 years prior. No, that was like 6 years prior. Because she doesn't look the same at all. Like, she's so much skinnier, and her hair is so much straighter. In Frequency, it's, like, short and black, and, like, how did she do that? I don't know. But, yeah. But, yeah, we finally get to see what the other's life is like, and we see Jack down in the thing, and... I mean, the first 6 episodes of Season 3 are famous for being some of the worst batch of Lost episodes in the entire series. And, The Glass Ballerina is probably one of the better of those 6. Maybe the best? Let me see. Let me look at the others here. No, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. The Glass Ballerina is a Sun episode. Basically, it's the episode where you find out Sun is a liar. Ho ho ho! Yeah, I can't put that any higher than B. I'll put it over... I can't put it over Dave. I'll put it right next to the other one. This one may need to go lower. I mean, it would be too much of a coincidence for the 2 season 3s to be right next to each other. No, I think this needs to be down by, like, maternity leave. Yeah, this seems better. Well, I like Outlaws better than this one, yeah. Well, I like SOS better. I like Hearts and... You know what? Shit, dude. Okay, this one's dropping for some reason. I don't know. Yeah, all the stuff with Jack down in the place, the prison or whatever, is so boring, and Kate and Sawyer and the cages is just, ugh, I don't know. The Glass Ballerina's fun because you get to see Sun's flashbacks as a little kid, and then you see that she's having an affair, and it's like really awkward, and then the guy kind of kills himself, and it's just like, what the fuck? And, oh man. Also, Kate and Sawyer forced to work. Okay, well, I will say though, that moment with Sawyer, like when she throws him the glass of water and he just pours it out, you know, because he's like, that's how much I don't trust you, despite how thirsty I no doubt am. Actually, you know what? Shoot, I forgot. Further instructions. Yeah, this is probably my favorite of the first 6. I'll put this one in an A, but it's going to be a pretty low A, though. I'd say right about here. I like the symbolism. Well, this can't be higher than White Rabbit. Seriously? Here, put it right here. Well, maybe White Rabbit should be higher. Now that I really think about it. Yeah, I like the symbolism in this episode. I'm not sure I understand what it means, but it's a Locke episode, which is always fun. And he does go after the polar bear or whatever to try to help. Wait, no, that's later, isn't it? What is he doing in this episode? He's doing like the sweat lodge thing, right? After the implosion and all. And this is also where Hurley notices, or where Desmond gives away that he can see the future. And that's definitely a nice little seed that comes back to, you know, lead into some really great episodes later. We'll get to those sooner or later. You know the ones. Every Man for Himself, just another Sawyer episode, really. I'd say a low B for this one. I'll put it right about there. Right there? Yeah, that seems about right. Sawyer's in jail. He does a con. The only funny part of it is when the warden says, "Congratulations, you just lied and cheated your way out of prison." And it's funny, but it's like, okay, I guess he did. He's really good at that. Cool. The Cost of Living, I always kind of liked this one. I don't know. This is another one I feel like I didn't see as much of as I saw the other ones. Because I watched all the episodes multiple times, but I feel like The Cost of Living is one that I didn't see as frequently as the others, and I do like it. I would say, I think Echo's acting is really good in this one, or Adewale Abaje Akmat, I don't know how to say that guy's name. I'll put it right here. No, it's better than what Kate did. Well, is it? Yeah, it is. The whole idea of, like, he's stealing bread to support his, or to help his starving, you know, younger brother is really, you know, it begs a lot of really moral questions, which I would not even remotely be prepared to address. Like, honestly, I think, you know, if you're stealing from an establishment that's not going to take as much damage as your brother would take if you didn't give it to him, then yeah, like, the whole idea of even existing in this world is to eliminate damage. And if you simplify it down to that, it would be, yeah. But at the same time, there's like a whole system in place, and the system would collapse if everybody were just able to take stuff willy-nilly. So, and then maybe that would lead to damage. You know, what kind of damage? I'm not sure. I Do is the famous 6th episode, the Kate episode, where she gets married, and then she's like, "I can't do taco night." You're going in C. I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, the best part about this episode is the cliffhanger, and we had to wait 6 weeks to see this one resolve itself. But man, it was pretty intense. I mean, I don't hate it as much. You know what? It's oh man, Fire and Water is better than I Do. What is this one here? 2 for the Road. Yeah, I'll stop there. But I do like Fire and Water better. So there we go. Okay, so not in Portland. This is a really weird observation, but the very beginning of this episode, Juliet is like giving some kind of ultimatum to Jack. And the last shot before they go to commercial or go to the title screen or whatever is Juliet's face. And she's looking at him, and her eyes move just before it cuts away. And I always found that shot fascinating, and I think that's where I realized Elizabeth Mitchell was really about to kill it in this role. I gotta put this one pretty high, because I feel like after I Do came out, everybody was complaining. Everybody was saying this show is going to shit. You know, and like the message boards was just rife with people saying what they would have done instead, or you know, how they could have done better. And then Not in Portland came out, and in my opinion, I don't know, maybe because of what people were saying, my expectations were low, but I thought this episode was great. I loved it. I mean, I may even go so far as to put it over The Moth. I thought the whole idea of Juliet's, like, story of how her sister had cancer and people were telling her, we can help you to, we're doing some kind of research that might be able to get rid of this. And if you would like to join us on this and help us out, maybe we can help you with your sister as well. And when you realize that that's why she's there and that she's not actually one of them, that's fascinating. And, the situation that she's found herself in, is not one that anyone would hope to be in. So I think it's pretty interesting. I always liked it. It's a good episode. It's very beautiful, too. Like, when she opens the window and it's Miami outside, it's just like, oh, yeah, I kind of wish I was there. I'd sleep in that hotel room. I'd sleep in a lot of places in this show, I'll tell you that. Okay, now, flashes before your eyes. This, ooh, boy. Man, I don't know if this is an SS. It is really freaking close, though. Flashes Before Your Eyes is the first Desmond episode after finding out that he can see the future. And, he saves Claire from the, whatever it is, the lightning? Was that the episode where he did that? Yeah, I think it was. But the thing is, and he also foresees, like, Charlie's death in the future. But the real meat of this episode is the flashback, because he starts having flashbacks of, himself back with Penny. And then it's sort of like we see it from the point of view of his past self having flash forwards, and remembering stuff that he's not supposed to be able to remember because we thought that happened after, but then and when he runs outside and he says all the stuff and he's like, and then it started to rain, and then it starts raining just after he says that, and it's just like, oh my god, Charlie's there playing Wonderwall with what doesn't sound like the right chords, and just everything about this episode is awesome. It really makes you think about how much you wish you could change the past, or, how every decision you make is important, and the butterfly effect and all that shit. It reminded me a lot of the movie, The Butterfly Effect. And yeah, but at the end of it, he finally wakes up and realizes, he can't change it, and that he's stuck where he is, and he starts crying and just wishing he could go back one more time, and it's really sad, and it's really bittersweet, and it's just really good. And I think this is what cemented Desmond as a lot of people's favorite character, because he was just so relatable. Now, just after that, we go from one of the best episodes of this season, of the show in general, to one of the worst. Stranger in a Strange Land. I'm not going to talk about this one. Jack flies a kite, he gets a tattoo. I noticed in this episode, he gets kind of rough with that girl. Like, there's one scene where he's wearing a black t-shirt, which is really weird to see him wearing that. And he, like, shoves her up against a wall and tells her to put it on him, or put the tattoo on him. And it's just, I don't know, he's kind of, I don't know if they meant for it to look like that, but it looked like he was getting kind of rough with her, and I didn't like that. Not that I'm like a white knight or anything here, but, I don't condone violence against anybody, or trying to make people uncomfortable because they won't do what you want them to do. And then just after that, we come back to, okay, this is probably going to be a hot take here. Trisha Tanaka is Dead is an SS tier episode for me. This one, I know this is going to sound absolutely nuts, and this is like, I have to have a few of these, and this is one of them. This is one of my favorite episodes of the whole show. And I understand why people might disagree, but that ending with that frickin' song, and then the remix of it by Michael Giacchino, at the end with Jin and Sun walking and everything, and Sawyer looking around for Kate, and just the entire moment, like when they're driving the van and he actually gets it to start. It does take a little bit of suspension of disbelief there, but man, I tell you, I am like, I love this episode. I love the way it makes me feel. This episode got me through weeks of work when nothing else would have. And I just, and then there's the flashback where he's dealing with his dad and all that stuff, and that one, maybe not the best flashback out there. And the fact that I'm putting this above Exodus seems ridiculous. The fact that I'm putting it above Flashes Before Your Eyes seems ridiculous. But this is my episode. This is my one, episode that I'm going to indulge and say this is like one of the best episodes of the show. I just love it. And it is a Hurley episode, so it never hurts. I'm going to just move on from it before I dig my hole any deeper here. Enter 77. It's another Saeed episode. As much as I love Saeed as a character, I really find myself not really enjoying his episodes all that much, or not looking back fondly on them, because it always has to do with the torture, It's like, there has to be other things we can talk about with him besides, he tortured Nadia, he tortured some woman, and now this lady's capturing him to making him confess, or she just wants him to say he's sorry for it, and it's kind of like, I don't know. We do discover Mikhail in this episode, and we go to the flame station and all that stuff, and that's really interesting. I would say that's, it's better than, I'd say it's better than SOS, but, But there's still, you know, because of, and mostly the reason I say it's better than SOS is because of the stuff on the island. The flashback, you know, it's nice to see Saeed out of his element a little bit, you know, and getting a cooking job, being in an interview, and the guy saying stuff like, well, you and I are both outsiders here, and so I'm going to give you this job, you know, give him a chance to actually lead a normal life. But then it turns out the guy was only trying to get him captured so his wife could interrogate him about what he did to her. And, you know, and he does say something. It sounds like he's trying to say, I would never torture a woman in that one scene before the guy hits him or whatever. And I don't know if that was what he was trying to say, and I don't even know if it's true because it's strongly implied that he tortured Nadia, so I don't know. It's an alright episode, I guess, but I feel like at this point, Season 3 is starting to slow down a little bit. It's starting to slow down in the middle, as they often tend to do. Obviously, it will pick up later, but in the meantime, we have Par Avion. This is the other Clair episode. The only other Clair flashback we get besides Raised by Another. And I would put it right up there with... Well, no, you know what? No, I wouldn't. I do like this episode a lot, but I don't know if it's an A, man. I like the on-island stuff, you know? There's the whole thing with Charlie trying to... Or Desmond trying to stop Charlie from dying by doing this weird stuff, and Claire doesn't get why he's doing it. And he can't just tell her because people don't communicate, and yada yada. I don't know where to put this, man. This might be like top B. Yeah, I think I'll put it at top B. I liked Claire's like goth look. I thought she was pretty cute as a goth. Yeah, but you know, and then she catches the bird and she writes the message on it. The ending of the episode is really beautiful. And the ending, I mean, that's the ending, and she ties the message to the bird, she reads it out. Or actually, Charlie reads it out. And it's really beautiful. I know I've said beautiful like 8 times now. This episode also has what I would say is probably the second best cliffhanger in the series, which is Jack playing football with the others. Yeah, that was a cliffhanger. That one got me pretty riled up. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Man from Tallahassee. Okay, this is Locke. Oh god, this is the one where Locke breaks his back. He also blows up the sub in this episode, and he sees his dad on the island. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. The conversations between Locke and Ben in this episode are just freaking fire, and definitely bring this... This is definitely well above Lockdown. It's better than Raised by Another. It's better than The Long Con. It's barely better than The Long Con, though, so it's gonna be pretty close here. I don't know if I can put it above the season 2. Oh, wait, we're in S here. Hang on. Man of Science, Man of Faith. Oh, yeah, it's better than that. Oh, wait, we are in S tier. Hang on. Is this an S tier episode, or is this, like, high A? I'm going to put it in high A, like top of A. I don't think it's better than the season 2 finale, honestly. Yeah, I think I'm good with it there. Okay, so... Yeah, that episode, I mean, I don't even know how to describe that episode. It's just crazy. You know, when Locke looks back at Ben and says, because you're in a wheelchair and I'm not. It's so freaking cold, man. I love it. Expose. Okay, a lot of people hate Expose. And I will concede, it's not one of the better episodes of the show. But I have a soft spot for it a little bit. Not as much of a soft spot as I do for Trisha Tanaka, obviously, but I put it at a low B. I'd say probably right about here. It's better than Fire and Water, I think. Yeah. Is it? No, it's not better than And Found, for sure. Actually, I don't know. This might be a C. I don't know. I just find it's a nice little change of pace. It's a nice little mystery happening on the island. You got Nikki and Paolo, or Nikki and Paulo, or whatever. It's the way that the rest of the characters react that makes it realistic to me. When Sawyer's looking like, who the hell's Nikki? I'm like, yeah, of course. And when you hear the music in the background after he says it, you almost get this impression that the show's about to go in a direction where people's memories are being messed with or something. And there's just that sort of underlying vibe going on in this episode where something just feels off. And Lost, I think, is at its best when things feel off. Because that's when you're really... on high alert for what could be wrong, what could be going on here. So yeah, I do have a soft spot for it, but I can't put it too high up here, I don't think, because it's not that great. But it's pretty good, though. This is another one of those kind of just another episodes. There's these random scenes that happen, like with, with Arts and the Spider and stuff like that. It's a little world building, getting to know a little bit more about characters who died, a long time ago through flashbacks. It's really cool. Left Behind, Season 3, Episode 15. Okay. This one, I think, is pretty good. This is the one where basically the others run off and they leave Juliet behind. They left her behind. But to me, I'm not the biggest fan of Kate, as I've stated already. But I think she's great in this episode. Her and Juliet, they have some crazy shenanigans going on. I think I'd put it right here. It's probably good. Maybe a little higher. But this episode also has like a side quest where Hurley is tricking Sawyer into being good or being nice. And that's actually really fun to watch, really funny. I think this probably maybe should go higher. That's higher than The Confidence Man. That's higher than Glass Ballerina. Is it higher than Dave? Nah, I think I'll leave it there. Let's see, okay, so episode 16, One of Us. This is very much a Juliet episode. I don't know if I remember what the flashback is. Maybe this is the one about her sister, actually, and the other one was just about her getting the job. Yeah, because the other one was like her saying maybe if he gets hit by a bus, and then he gets hit by a bus. It's one of the reasons I love that episode, not in Portland, that's it. One of Us is the one about her sister, yeah. This is also the one where she arrives back at camp because she has nowhere else to go because the others abandoned her. But then, obviously, for, obvious reasons, the others don't trust her, but Jack does, and it makes you wonder, like, what's going on, and, where her allegiances lie is anybody's guess at this point, but it is kind of a mystery. It's not, like, one of the more interesting mysteries of the show. They have enough other stuff that they could be talking about, and yet, it's like, Juliet, is she good or is she bad? It's like, I think Elizabeth Mitchell is a great actor, and I think her character was in a very unenviable situation, but I also sometimes don't like her, and this is one of those episodes where I kind of just don't. I don't know, man. DOC, I like her a lot more. That one's coming up in a minute here. But first we have Catch-22, another Desmond episode, which means almost instantaneously this one's going pretty high up. Oh, man. Is it higher than the season? I feel like season 2 finale maybe should be higher. I can't put all the finales all the way up there, though. We already have season 1 and season 2 in the S rank. I wouldn't put this above both of those. But it's definitely a very high A. I would say higher than The Man from Tallahassee, yeah, for sure. You know what? I think I like it better than the season 2 finale, actually. Catch-22 is awesome. The flashback is... Well, to be truthful, now that I think about it, the flashback is kind of mid, though, isn't it? It's the one where Desmond is in the thing. It's where he first meets Penny, right? But what makes it, but it's the on-island stuff, though, man. The on-island stuff where the girl jumps out of the helicopter and onto the island, and they think it might be Penny. And the whole time they're wondering, and Desmond has this vision that it is Penny. And so, he's trying to go and see her, but then everybody knows that he can see the future. And they're like, well, wait a minute, are you trying to change something? And he's like, well, why would I want to change it? Because it might be Penny. And, there's this it's a catch-22, like the title says. You know what? This is better than Deus Ex Machina. I'm going to finally put something above that. What is this one here? Oh, that's a Pilot Part 2. It's better than Pilot Part 2, actually. Orientation. Oh, man. I just love Orientation because of the mystery aspect of it. But I love this one because of the suspense aspect of it. So it's two different sides. DOC, this is the one where Sun gains favor with Juliet, or no, strike that, reverse it. Juliet gains favor with Sun by taking her to the staff station to check out her baby and make sure he's okay. And it's a really nice moment between the two of them. I think they have some nice chemistry in that moment. And I like Juliet in this episode a lot more than I do in One of Us. So this has got to be higher than that. It's a pretty solid episode. I'd probably put it right here next to Par Avion, actually. I'm trying to think, what else... Yeah, and this is also where we find out about who the person really is. And of course, it's not Penny. It turns out to be this girl named Naomi. And, and then they have a big cliffhanger where Naomi says, no, they all died. That's a pretty badass cliffhanger. That might be enough to... Well, no, it's not as good as Jack playing football, though, so it stays under Par Avion. Yeah. The Brig. The Brig is like the ultimate Sawyer-Locke episode. It's a Sawyer episode and it's a Locke episode. Technically, based on the flashback, it's a Locke episode. Oh yeah, we're getting back to Locke because he found out his father is on the island, and why is that? It's because of the magic box. Anything that you could think of that was in it. And, anyway, so this is the one where he gets Sawyer to kill Cooper, much in the same way that Ben gets, people to kill for him, and it's really fascinating. It's a good watch, for sure. I would definitely put it right up here by question mark. I'd put it above Raised by Another, actually. I'd put it above Everybody Loves Hugo. Everybody Hates Hugo, I mean. I wouldn't put it above The Pilot, though. Yeah, that seems good right there. Yeah, this is just a good-ass episode. This is where Season 3 is really starting to hit its stride, and we're basically building up to the finale here, and it starts with this one. The only thing I hate about it is Ben, chastising Locke in front of the others and saying, oh, he can't do it, he's not one of us. Really? It's times like that in TV shows when I really wish people would just stick up for themselves and say, look, just because I can't kill a person doesn't make me, you know, unworthy or something. Why would you think that? You know, it's like, I don't understand why Locke wouldn't at least question Ben a little bit and say, why do you want me to do this? Like, how does this make me a better person? How does this progress us toward anything? And it's like, I don't know. I guess we never found that out either. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't pay attention. Maybe I just didn't get it. You know, never mind. I think I've watched that Rite review a little too many times. The Man Behind the Curtain. Oh man, it's our first Ben episode. Ben is a character indeed, and I don't know, this is not the first episode that comes to mind though when I think of S tier Lost episodes. It's good, no doubt about it, but yeah, it's basically Ben's flashback, and we find out he actually was born on the island. He was lying to Locke, and oh, but he does take Locke to see Jacob in this episode, doesn't he? It's the one where they go to the cabin and like everything goes crazy, and then you see the eye in the window. I always thought that eye looked like Terry O'Quinn, but what do I know? This is definitely an A, at least. I don't think it's as good as The Brig. In fact, I don't even think it's as good as... Well, you know what? Yeah, it is. The thing I mentioned about Raised by Another is that it introduces that psychic, you know, which again, I kind of didn't bring it up because, well, the show didn't bring it up either, you know. It's like, is he real? Is he fake? I have no idea. And then there's like another episode later, it might be this one here, where they address that and say, well, he was a fraud, and he found out information about people and exploited them for money. But that still doesn't explain how he knew the plane was going to crash. I don't know. I mean, well, unless somebody else knew that it was going to crash and they told him that. I don't know. All right, 321. Here we go. Greatest hits. This. Oh, man. You know what? If I put a cap on how many SS... This has to be an SS episode for sure. This is very much a standalone episode. It's funny how the Charlie episodes seem to be like that. The Moth and now this one. This to me is like, I feel like everybody in their life should do this at least once. Make a greatest hits list of your 5 greatest moments. And that's what Charlie does here. And then, you know, and he does it just before he's about to sacrifice himself to save the entire island to, you know, to turn on a switch so that, you know, that word of the island can get to the outside world. And it's very noble and just a very powerful moment. And then at the very end, when you find out he's still alive, that also got me through an entire week of work. Just him being still alive at the end of that episode. Let me just finish up season 3 here. So we have Through the Looking Glass. This one is also maybe going to be a little bit of a hot take here, but I'm only putting this one in S, not SS. I will put it, I think, right here between numbers and special. The thing of it is, this is a great episode. The stuff on Island is fantastic. It is like some of the best Lost there is to see. And just the, you know, the suspense leading up to, are they going to get in contact with the freighter? Is Ben going to be able to stop them? Where is Locke? What is he doing? There's like, you know, Saeed and Sawyer teaming up on Juliet to ask her questions about what the hell is going on here. The whole thing with them holding Bernard and Jin and Saeed at gunpoint over on the beach, and then Hurley coming in with the van. All that stuff is fantastic. I love it. The thing that I feel is overrated about this episode is the flashback. And I'm not, you know, okay, I get it. I get that the ending is like the biggest cliffhanger of all time in any TV show ever. Yes, it is. But the rest of the flashback is just Jack going around being depressed. And I don't know, I just thought that was kind of boring. I mean, there were a few moments that were kind of like, you know, he's trying to get the prescription, and he's like, oh, this is a prescription for Jack Shepherd. And she's like, no, it's a prescription for Kristen Shepherd. And I'm just like, I don't care. You know, he goes to the funeral home. Okay, there's a coffin. Okay, somebody died. It turns out it's Jeremy Bentham. Who the hell is that? I don't know. It's easier to look back on this one with disdain now because we know that there was no reason for the whole Jeremy Bentham thing. Because they stopped calling him Jeremy Bentham the moment, just for no reason, randomly in the middle of season 5. Like, it feels like the only reason, you know, looking back now, knowing what we know, it feels like the only reason they called him Jeremy Bentham was just so that it could be a mystery for the audience. Not because there was actually any reason for them to do it, for the characters to keep it secret. And, like unless they were being watched the whole time, which sometimes you got that impression they were, but I just don't know. So I just felt like the flashback was boring outside of the big cliffhanger at the end, which I will admit, that is a great cliffhanger, arguably the greatest cliffhanger of the show, is that they were already off of the island. But I never thought that the Jack flashbacks, which some people call them Jackbacks, other people call them Flashjacks, which I think both of those are hilarious, but I never thought they were, like, really ever all that interesting, so this one was kind of no exception. I didn't mention it, but the one in A Tale of Two Cities actually was even worse than this one, where he's stalking his ex-wife and, sitting in the car staring at her as she's on the playground. It's like, dude, man, move on. Seriously. Not healthy, dude. Oh, man. Alright, so I'm going to actually take a short break here from the recording so this can render and I can go get some food in me. And then we'll move on to Season 4, so hold on to your hats, everybody. So Season 4, Episode 1, the beginning of the end. I was so hyped for Season 4. I mean, I imagine a lot of people were. I even went so far as to make a fan fiction that got 6-digit views on the first 3 parts. It was crazy. I'm not going to talk about too much of that right now because you can't view those anymore. They were like gone to the ether, basically. First episode of Season 4 is definitely quite a banger, and it had a lot to live up to, and it actually did a pretty decent job of living up to it. I'm not sure, let me see where, I think I might want to put it right here. It's really hard to read the titles on these ones though, it's really dark color, but I guess they only had so many colors to deal with. So, we find out about the Oceanic Six, everything is really funny. I always thought when Hurley got out of the car and he's like, I'm one of the Oceanic Six! I'm one of the Oceanic Six! When he says six, his mouth is like open so much wider than you think it would be for someone saying six. But, okay, I guess he is shouting it though, so, yeah. There are times in this episode where it feels like, well, the thing in particular that I'm thinking of is when Jack and Hurley are playing basketball, and Jack says, I'm thinking about growing a beard. And it's like, it feels like he's talking to the audience more than he's talking to Hurley. There are just little moments like that where maybe it sometimes feels like the show is a little bit too self-aware or something. I don't know. It's just like, hey, look at us, we're being funny here or something. I don't know. I guess what else are they supposed to do, though, anyway? But this is definitely the biggest, like split in the group that we've seen thus far, because some people trust what Charlie said and some people don't, and they think the freighters are out to do us harm. Another really weird thing about this episode is, like, when Hurley has to tell Claire about, how Charlie is dead and everything. There was a part of me, maybe a very small part of me, that kind of shipped Hurley and Claire a little bit, but after they hugged in this episode, I was like, okay, I guess I'm glad I didn't ship that too hard. I don't know what the reason for that even is. It's just I thought maybe they would have, like, this super chemistry if they actually got to do more together. But, I don't know. I just kind of got the vibe there that, I don't know. Something was off. I don't know. But I'd say I don't know too much. I know. Anyway, Confirmed Dead, Episode 2, I think is actually even better than the first episode. Because this episode really gets into all the truth about, why people think that the Islanders are dead. And, there's a fake plane and who could have put it there. And it introduces all 4 of the freighters and gives them an interesting story. Miles is probably my favorite of that, but then I'm not putting that over Pilot Part 1, though. Not putting it over The Brig. Well, what have I put all this over? Did I put that over Lockdown? Oh, wait, where's the other one? Where's the other Season 4? Oh, it's over here. I might put this right next to that one, because I don't know if I can... Well, actually, I think I might like this better than Lockdown. I do like it better than Question Mark. I like it better than Man Behind the Curtain. I always find myself putting stuff next to Raised by Another, and Raised by Another is always the one that stops me from moving it up any further. I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, yeah, that episode was super interesting. I especially loved, well, like I said, I loved Miles, but I also loved Frank's flashback. Man, the way he gets on the phone, he tells that guy, that is not the real pilot, and I should know, because I was supposed to be flying the plane that day, and it's just like, what a bombshell. Man, I loved that guy from that very moment. Let's see, Episode 3, The Economist, yet again, a Saeed episode that I don't really care for that much. One of the worst cliffhangers in the entire show. I don't know what that sound effect is they play after Ben says good at the end, but it's just like, really? I don't know, man. This is like, honest to God, way down here. I would even say it's probably worse than Abandoned. I think it might even be worse than Adrift, to be honest. Yeah. I hate that I'm doing that, but, this happens sometimes. Yeah, I don't even barely remember anything about the episode, and maybe that's part of why I have it so low. It's like they're trying to get off the island because they got in contact with the freighter, and here it is 3 episodes later, they're still diddling around and making negotiations, and it's just like, good lord, man, let's get on with this already. So then we have Eggtown. I like this one a little better. It's, I always love courtroom drama stuff, so this is definitely kind of my wheelhouse here. If that's even the right word, I don't know. But yeah, I like Kate in this episode. She's interesting, and you find out that she has Aaron, which everybody basically guessed that at this point. I'd probably put it right about here. right here next to the other good Kate episode, Left Behind. It's not great, but, you know, it's a solid B. That's pretty high for a B. I don't know. I don't know if I like it better than Outlaws, though, or Maternity Leave. Wait a minute. No, I think this needs to be moved down a bit. Well, jeez, man, this is tough. I don't know where to put... I knew it was going to start to get tough the more of these we got up here. I think right here by Enter 77 seems about right. Okay, so the constant, I mean, I don't even need to talk about this one. This one goes straight to the top. This one goes above Walkabout. Speaking of which, Trisha Tanaka should go below Greatest Hits, though. Yeah. The Constant is the best episode of Lost, and people say that for a reason, but if you've seen it, you know. You know, and there's just no denying it. And that's all I'm going to say about that one. The Other Woman, on the other hand, Season 4, Episode 6, it's one of my less favorite, I don't want to say least favorite, but one of my not-so-favorite episodes. There's like all this stuff with, you know, the Tempest, and they're trying to turn off the gas, and there's this therapist that Juliet had, and like she is married to Goodman, and somebody's having an affair with somebody. I don't even remember. It's all just a bunch of soap opera stuff, and I just don't really care for it. I would say it's probably a C for sure. Right down here by, like, right about here by the hunting party. Sounds about right. You know, and it's like you also have Ben starting to talk to Locke, and he's like, hey, look at this, our roles are reversed. Isn't that funny? You know, and Locke is like trying to get in his head saying, oh, you're trying to save up $3 million? Oh, here's $1, by the way. Because why in the world do you still have $1 in your pocket when you've been on an island for 2 months? I don't know. 3 months at that point? But who cares? It's a chance for us to be funny, you know? I don't know. It's just so silly. But then Ben gets in his head anyway, and he throws his, you know, dishes against the wall, trying to mimic that moment from Maternity Leave. And then when the dishes hit the wall, like, caves in a little bit. I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, not one of my favorites, to be honest. I'm moving on now. Let's see, Episode 7, G Yawn. I really do like the flashbacks in this episode, and somehow halfway into the episode I'd managed to call it that they were having separate flashbacks, one in the past and one in the future, so that was really cool. And this got a really bittersweet ending. I remember, like, one of the last things I did with my mom before she passed on was watch this show together. And at some point I was out of town, and she actually rewatched this episode on her own because she wanted to see it again. Which I was kind of surprised by because they were older and kind of racists, and I would have thought they wouldn't have liked the Sun and Jin episodes, but I don't know. I think this one's pretty good. This one deserves a high B. Definitely over DOC. Not over Par Avion, though. Yeah. I would have put it higher if not for the fact that most of the stuff that happens on the freighter is actually really boring. You got Saeed and Desmond trying to figure out what's going on, and it's just like, ugh. It does have that awesome cliffhanger, though, when it reveals that Kevin Johnson is actually Michael. Great moment there. Then we have Meet Kevin Johnsons, or following up on the Michael cliffhanger, and they actually delivered on it pretty well. Like, it goes pretty much exactly how you would expect it to with Saeed. Obviously, Saeed had a great deal of disdain for Michael after what he did. Although, in a way I understand, you saw how riled up I got about what the others did to him and Walt. So, just separating them and scaring them, more or less. Anyway. But the thing of it is, I don't know if I can rank this episode much higher than a C, or, I mean, like a low B. Mainly because of, like, well, you know, there's all the stuff with Ben and Alex, and he's trying to tell her where to go to get away, to get us safety and all, because Kimi's coming. And then at the end of the episode, they kill off Rousseau, and that alone, I think, oh, that knocks it way down here. That knocks it below Tabula Rasa, for sure. I feel like Tabula Rasa, looking back, should really be a lot higher than it is here. But I don't know, is it nostalgia goggles speaking here? Like, is Eggtown really better than Tabula Rasa? Maybe I should switch these two. Let me at least move Tabula Rasa up a bit here. I'll put it over here above SOS. Actually, I'll put it next to Eggtown. How about that? Yeah, because it's not that bad. So, Episode 4, Season 4, Episode 9, The Shape of Things to Come. This one was always one of my favorites. But when I really think about it, the biggest reason for that is because of the big scene with the smoke monster at the end. I don't know about the rest of it, though. It's like, there's like a body washes ashore and nobody knows who it is, and so they start talking to the freighter, and he says, wait, no, the doctor's still alive, and then Faraday's like, no, this is the doctor, he's dead. And it's like, what's going on here? And they try to get him to actually explain what's going on. It is pretty intense, though, pretty stressful. I would definitely put it up here in A rank. Also because this is the episode where Alex gets killed by Kimi, which I really hate. I really hate that Alex gets killed, but boy, does it get you emotionally, like, riled up and invested in Ben's side of things, for sure. So, yeah. And Ben's reaction, like, freaking Michael Emerson, his acting in this episode is just off the rails. It's absolutely crazy. Something Nice Back Home is like the ultimate soap opera episode. It belongs right down here next to The Other Woman for sure. I have nothing much to say about this other than, oh, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I always thought it was just so boring. You know, it's Jack and Kate and they're having sex and just who cares? Blah. On the island, that story is only slightly better with Jack having to get his appendix taken out, but then he's all acting annoying like, no, I want to be awake for the surgery because he doesn't trust her to do it right. And, I don't know, man. Boy, looking over this now, season 4 has got a lot of really bad episodes, doesn't it? Sheesh, man. At least in my opinion. The finale, There's No Place Like Home, not one of the... Wait, am I missing one? Oh, you know what? Cabin Fever. Yeah, that's what this is. No, Cabin Fever is great. Yeah, I like Cabin Fever, because they go back to the cabin, duh. And, then it turns out Christian's in there, and Claire's hanging out with him after she abandoned her baby. God only knows why she did that. I mean, if ever there were character assassination, it's kind of... I don't know. Unless she just died or something. But geez, seriously. As much as she cared about that baby, she just abandons it. I don't know, dude, but okay, whatever. But it was interesting, to say the least. Definitely a high A. I think the thing that really saves this one, though, is Locke's flashback about his mom. And, you know, it starts with her in the 50s dancing to that crazy song or whatever, and then she ends up in the hospital and she gives birth to him, and then he grows up, and Richard comes to visit him. All that stuff is really fascinating, just figuring out how Locke plays into the main story. But I think I would probably have to put it, like, right here by Man of Science, Man of Faith. Seems like a pretty good spot. Yeah, it's not the greatest episode, but it's definitely better than most of Season 4, so, yeah. And then There's No Place Like Home. I don't know why every time I think about this finale, I think about that shot of the open end of the fire extinguisher thing as it's just running out. Of all the finales of the entire show, this one is probably, I would say, my least favorite, so I will put it at top of B. Oh yeah, I guess this came in 3 parts. Okay, all 3 of them going right in here together. And on to Season 5, Because You Left. I always, for some reason, get Season 5 and Season 4's openings confused. And I'm not sure why. I guess because Season 5 kind of has to go back and cover up some things that, you know, whatever. Because, like, they moved the island at the end of Season 4, and that is a pretty big deal. But also, like, what does that mean for the people who got off? And, you know, like, how's it, like, or is everybody else still alive? We don't know. And so they have this big press conference to say, oh, well, you know, yeah, we were the only survivors. There's no chance that anybody else is alive. And that's kind of fascinating because we know that they are alive. But the dramatic irony is just for the audience, not really... I don't know. This is the point in the show where I sometimes feel like I don't know whether the characters are pushing the story or the story is pushing the characters. And I'm not even sure which one is the better option for getting us to the end of this particular story in general. I don't know. Because the characters really are like the crux of it. But I also feel like the mysteries are, so it's like, So episode 2, The Lie. The funniest part of this episode is right here in the thumbnail, it looks like. Oh no, that's the part where he's talking to Ana Lucia. Never mind. It's getting to a point where it doesn't matter as much specifically which episodes you put them in between. I mean, it's not as good as the Season 4 finale, but I'd say it goes right around here, somewhere in the middle. But yeah, the funniest part of The Lie is actually when Hurley is like in the car with Saeed and he says something like, you should eat more comfort food, it makes you feel better. And Saeed just ignores him and starts driving. And the camera pans back to Hurley putting a fry in his mouth as the car drives away. So he slides off screen while putting the fry in his mouth. It's just really a funny shot. I always thought it was hilarious. But yeah, I love Season 5. Season 5 is probably like my 3rd favorite season, just behind 1 and 2. And I always love a time travel story, so I feel like this maybe should be higher. I wasn't thinking much about the very specifics of this, but it's got to be more like up here where Dave is. Not quite Left Behind, yeah. Between Dave and Left Behind. So, episode 3, Jughead. This is the one with the bomb, you know, and now they're in the past, so they know about it, so they can go tell the army people about it. But does that happen just yet, or is that later? I feel like that's later that happens. Yeah, really the only great part of this episode is where Daniel confesses that he has feelings for Charlotte, but even then, it's kind of like... These are still the new characters, and we still don't know half of what we want to know about the old characters. I guess maybe we do at this point. They've kind of been here for a while. I don't really know where to put this one. It was never... Like, it has good moments, but wouldn't count it as one of my favorite episodes. I'd put it right around SOS, somewhere in that vicinity. But the fact that Jughead is a bomb is an interesting reveal, and not all surprising once you see it, and then you really think about the name Jughead. It's like, yeah, that does sound like a name for a bomb, doesn't it? I guess the part where Locke is talking to Richard about where he's from and what time he's from and everything is kind of interesting, because Richard is one of those key elements in the show where, like, he knows everything, and so when someone tells him something, he already automatically knows if they're full of shit or not, and if they're not, then he will, he'll work to help them. Okay, so season 4, The Little Prince. This one's pretty much the counterpart to Eggtown as far as I'm concerned. It's just more stuff about Kate trying to get custody of her kid, and, well, I guess Eggtown was more about Kate in court, and the cliffhanger was stuff about the kid, but in this episode it's more about Kate just trying to keep custody of the kid, and it's all very soap opera-y. It's one of the things my stepdad often said about this show, and he didn't like it because it felt like a soap opera, and I can see why he said that because of episodes like this. I would say it's probably better than Eggtown, though. More so because of the stuff that goes on with Locke and the rest of the crew trying to figure out the time travel stuff and get away from it. And he goes down the well and he talks to Christian Shepherd, and it's such a mess, but it's so cool. It's a beautiful mess. This Place's Death is a really unpleasant title, but every time I've ever watched the episode, it's always been better than I expected. Because I remember thinking this episode was just not that great, but I don't know. I think I'd have to put it like right around the middle. I'm practically not even thinking about whether it's an A or a B or what at this point. Maybe right here by Confidence Man. That seems pretty good. Between Confidence Man and The Whole Truth. That seems about right. I mean, this is basically the one where Charlotte dies. Oh, you know what I didn't mention about The Little Prince is it does have the Rousseau cliffhanger. And so that leads into this. And this is like the past Rousseau episode where Jin talks to her. And then he finds himself in the present and he hugs Sawyer. And that is such a great moment. When Jin finally gets back to the right time and he can finally see his friends again. You just feel so good for him. You just feel so happy for him because you've grown to really care about him over the course of this show. Jin is honestly one of the best characters in the show. 316, episode 6, this is where the shit hits the fan, and season 5 really kicks into high gear, from what I remember. This is where they get on flight 316 to go back to the island, so it only took them a season and a half to get back, but eventually they did, and I thought this episode was pretty exciting. All the stuff with the ring lady, I guess is what they called her, and they took the flight, and like, this is very much calling back to season 1 with just the idea of a plane crash, but now they're trying to do it on purpose, and, like, that's fascinating. I feel like putting that next to Pilot is pretty, I don't know, poetic, in a way. Not that I'm trying to be poetic. Well, I guess I am. Okay, so episode 7 is The Life and Death of Jeremy Bentham. So, no, this one's actually pretty good. Like, the flashback side of it is good. Getting Locke's story and finding out, how he failed to convince all the people to come back and everything is good. But in the present time, you have these no-name characters asking him about Caesar and, what was the other chick, Ilana or Ileana or something. And it's like, I don't know who these people are. I don't care. I just want to talk about Locke. I just want to see Locke, man. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a Locke fanboy or something. But honestly, I can't rate this episode any lower than a very high B for sure. In fact, I'd probably put it above Par Avion, to be honest. I don't know if I'd put it over the season 4 finale, but now I have, like, the 3 green ones, like, in a line here, and that makes me uncomfortable. Whatever. Okay, LaFleur. Honestly, this one, I love Sawyer, and I love Sawyer episodes, and this is one of his best, I think. Just finding out that he was in the Dharma Initiative and he was leading the crew, that sets up so many awesome situations because of what he knows about the future, and how he can kind of steer these people toward maybe a better path or something. And just I don't know, the potential for things to happen. I would almost have to call this an S episode. I think I just might. Yeah, I think I will. Is it better than Deus Ex Machina? I don't know about that. Yeah, actually, I think it might be, man. I think it's better than Catch-22. I think it's better than Orientation. I don't know about Special. No, I'll put it between Special and Orientation. I don't know. I just really love this episode. It's fascinating, and just the idea, the conversations, everything's so relatable, and it's such an ordinary life, and they're listening to Captain Ride. I think that's actually in the next episode that they do that, but still, though, they're just living this normal life, and you kind of feel like things are going to be okay, and they're settling in, and things are good, and, and it's easy to forget that you're looking at it through the point of view of these characters who've been here for 3 years, so they've really settled in, and then you're like, it may be a little jarring for the audience, but the actors really pull it off, that they've settled into this life. When Juliet's working on the cars, it's just so cool, man. I love it. But my favorite part is absolutely the part where Sawyer talks to, oh god, what's that guy's name? Horace? Horace, yeah. About, like, it's 3 years long enough to get over somebody. Yeah, I just love shit like that. I know I said I hated the soap opera stuff, but I like it when I can relate to it. I don't like all that baby crap, you know? Anyway, or all that marriage cheating crap. Namaste is more of the fun Dharma life, which, you know, it'd be even more fun if we knew something about them, but now we're starting to get to know Kid Ben, you know, and see some of the stuff that he puts up with and his dick-ass dad. This is a good episode. I'd say probably a low A. I like it better than the other 28 days, but I don't know about if it's better than... Yeah, I think it's better than 303. No, it's going to be right here next to Shape of Things to Come. Yeah, just under it. Okay, so He's Our You, another Saeed episode, and surprise, surprise, it's about the torture. Oh, man, isn't that something? I'm going to put it at a very low B, I guess. I mean, it's better than Expose. It's better than a lot of these here. It's probably better than Meet Kevin Johnson. It's better than Homecoming. Well, actually, there. No, it's not. I'd put it right under Homecoming, and also Solitary should be under Homecoming. I don't know why Homecoming is so low here. Homecoming should be above Born to Run. So, well, should it? Yeah, I think it should. It's Charlie shooting Ethan, man. That was worth it. That shit was awesome. Anyway, the thing about who... Oh, no, and now I have 4 in a line. Okay, I'm not doing this on purpose, I swear to God. The thing about He's Our You is that title always reminds me of She's No You, which is an obscure second single from some boy band in the early 2000s. And I can't dissociate those two things from each other, and I have no idea why. The best part of this episode, though, is when Saeed actually gets drugged and he starts laughing and smiling, because you never get to see Saeed smile. You could count on one hand the times that Saeed genuinely smiles in the first 4 seasons alone. Like, I think the thing that comes to mind is when Saeed is joking with Sawyer about the boar, saying, I think he wanted to go camping, and he, like, makes these smart remarks, and he has a smile there. And I guess he smiles a lot when he's with Shannon, so maybe there's that. Maybe he does smile more than 5 times in the first 4 seasons, I don't know. But, like, there's a stretch there for a long time where he doesn't smile at all, especially after we lose Shannon. But, yeah. Anyway, I mean, it's an episode. It's a Dharma episode. They're starting to catch on, and they're trying to torture him, or, well, they're trying to truth serum him into explaining what's going on. But when he does explain what's going on, it's so weird that they don't actually believe him. You know, come to think of it, that situation is worth maybe moving this up a little bit. I'd put this over 3 minutes, yeah. Or, yeah, I'd put it over A Tale of Two Cities also. Dead is Dead. Here's another one that makes me think of a song, Good is Good by Sheryl Crow. It's like, Dead is Dead. Wait, hang on. I skipped one. Whatever happened, happened. That comes first, doesn't it? Well, okay, which episode is this? Let me just put it here and think about this. Okay, yeah, this is the one where Kate tries to save Kid Ben's life, because at the end of the last episode, Saeed shot Kid Ben. And, yeah, that didn't go well. So this is the aftermath of that situation, so this definitely should probably be higher. I'd say higher than House of the Rising Sun. DOC, probably higher than that. No, it's not higher than DOC. Come on. Let's put it right there. Man, Season 5 is just rife with B episodes, isn't it? Oh, I tell you. Okay, now we have Dead is Dead and Bad is Bad. So much of the middle of Season 5, I feel, just kind of blends into itself. And I don't feel like any one episode is special for any specific reason. Like, if you say The Moth, I could tell you what that episode is about. If you say Confidence Man, I can tell you what that episode is about. If you say Par Avion, I can tell you what that episode's about. But Dead is Dead, it's just in the middle of all this random stuff with the others and with Namaste and with Ben. You know, and I guess, well, this is the one where Ben, like, atones for letting Alex die. Or whatever, because, like, I don't know what else he was supposed to do in that situation. I feel like Kimi was going to kill her no matter what Ben said. But... oh, and I guess there's, like, the Widmore thing, too. Was that in this episode? The cliffhanger with Widmore? I thought... No, that was in The Shape of Things to Come, dude. I forgot about that, man. But, yeah. So, I don't know. I feel like this is kind of closest thing to just another Ben episode. And I never really was too crazy about all the... Man, I don't know. I almost wish I could watch this one again, because I don't remember this one that much. He's just like, Dead is Dead. You don't get to come back from that. Well, just wait about 4, or wait, how many episodes is that? Just wait till Season 6, Episode 2. We'll see what you have to say about that. I'm just going to put this over here by Outlaws. Or, yeah, between Outlaws and Maternity Leave. That seems about right. That's one of those I just kind of don't really know where to put it. I don't remember it well enough. Some Like It Hoth, aside from having a cute pun in the title, is also a really fun episode. Like, a lot of the Dharma stuff is falling apart, but in this one, I feel like, you know, Hurley's the cook, and he's trying to pull it back together, and he's writing The Empire Strikes Back for George Lucas, and it's just really fun. It's a Hurley episode, what do you expect? Although, actually, no, it's a Miles episode, isn't it? Because, like, this is the one about him talking to Hank from Breaking Bad about his son or whatever. I'm going to stick this in here for a second and see. I do think I like it better than White Rabbit. This is also the episode where we find out that Pierre Chang is Miles' dad, and that leads to a really neat moment at the very end when he sees his younger self and sees that Pierre Chang is actually, like, having fun with him. It's like, oh my gosh, my dad actually loves me. And then later Pierre Chang comes out and says, like, Miles, I need you. And Miles is like, you do? It's just, oh god, I can't even imitate it. It's so cheesy, but it's, like, really good. I don't know. I like Miles. He's a good character. Anyway, okay, the variable. This is a big one. Because this is where Daniel just sets up the whole thing and says, guess what, you know, there's a chance that maybe we could just reverse all of this and start all over again and say to hell with fate, to hell with destiny, and to hell with A rank. We're going all the way to S, if I can keep my mouse button down while picking it up. The question is, where am I going to put this? Because I don't want to be too quick to put it too high. I think it should be higher than LaFleur. I don't know. Should it be higher than Special, though? I guess the Special is not that special. Oh, God. It can't be higher than Numbers, dude. Like, we're getting into some serious crap here. What is this? Oh, that's Flashes Before Your Eyes. Oh, man. I think I'll put it right here. Oh, I can put it above Special, but I can't go any higher than that. Not with the Season 3 finale here. No. Yeah, now that I think about it, Some Like It Hoff ended with the cliffhanger of Daniel returning. And Daniel Faraday is such a cool character. I love him. Any episode where he's dominant in the story is definitely one that I'm going to love. So especially with him being like the time travel dude and all that crap. Okay, then we have Follow the Leader. This episode is a lot better when you know actually what's going on in Season 6. Because at this point, Locke is already smoky. And he's infiltrated the others, and he's leading them on a path to do what he wants to do. Which you don't really know. I mean, you probably can figure it out at this point. You know, because you already know, basically, that Smokey took over Chris. Well, do you know that? I think he mentions that in Season 6. But either way, it's really fun to watch Locke in at the end of Season 5, though, and just what he's trying to do and everything. Because it's like Terry O'Quinn playing a completely different character than he was before, which must have been a riot for him to do. But yeah, this one needs to be pretty high, I think. I don't know, not too high. I mean, we're already an A here. Is it better than Namaste? Yeah. Is it better than Do No Harm? I think Do No Harm should be higher than Man of Science, Man of Faith over here. Let me put this here and fix that. Yeah, there we go. Like, this is where the characters are starting to split again on whether or not they want to reset the world and start over, or do they want to do whatever, and Sawyer and Juliet are trying to run away on the sub. I think that's actually in the finale that they try to do that, but either way, this is a good, strong lead-up to the finale, though, so it definitely should... It's got to be above Not in Portland, for sure. It'll be above... Oh. No, it's not above In Translation. I really love In Translation, man. I kind of feel like maybe I should move this one up a little bit. That should be above Confirmed Dead. I think I like it better than The Man. You know what? I'm moving In Translation over here. Yeah, over here to Raised by Another. This is hard because I feel like on any given day, this order could completely change depending on what mood I'm in. In fact, if I came back and did this a second time, I'm curious if I would be able to recreate the same order, or would I get the same order that I did the first time, or which ones would I be the most torn on? Where would the biggest differences be? How much would I remember? Anyway, whatever. The Incident, honestly, one of my favorite finales of the entire show. This is easily S rank and probably right up there with Exodus. I will rank it above the Season 3 finale without hesitation. I won't rank it above Numbers, though. Well, shit, will I? I can't rank it above Exodus. There's just no way. Like, Exodus is the best finale, I think, that the show has ever had. I'll put it above Numbers. I love The Incident. I love the whole adventure. It's so intense, and everybody's doing all this shit. There are some characters that are flip-flopping back and forth, like Sawyer and Juliet, and they get all the way on the sub, and then Juliet changes her mind and says, no, we need to go back because you looked at Kate that way, and yeah, that was pretty stupid. You know what? Numbers is going back above them. In fact, maybe the Season 3 finale should even be above them. It's really tough between 5 and 3, which one I think is the better finale. I think Exodus is the best finale, for sure. Yeah. I think I'm just going to leave it like it is, though. And that brings us to Season 6. This is going to be hard. Because I feel like Season 6 is the one I have the least memories of, if that makes any sense. So we got LAX. You know, it's like denture. So basically, after the big explosion at the end of the last one, you're left wondering, did they do it? Did they reset time? Did they go back in time? Is there like 2 different worlds now? And you don't know yet, and you're not going to find out for a while. But I feel like LAX is a pretty strong, introduction. It starts with them on the plane and getting off of the plane, and just seeing them get off of the plane and thinking about what might have been, if they had just landed like normal. And you can already tell that things are different when you see that Desmond is on the plane and that kind of thing. I am going to put these together, but where am I going to put them? Like, I might be ranking this a little too high. I don't know if this should be like a high B. Like, is this actually better than the Season 4 finale? We got Part Avion, we got The Life of Jeremy Bentham. I like it better than The Life of Jeremy Bentham. I'll put it right here. And then I'll put Part 2 with it. I think Part 1 is better than Part 2, though. Because Part 1, like I said, has that shot at the end of them getting off the plane. And especially when you see Locke getting off and just thinking, he would have been better off if the plane had crashed, and you can't help but have this kind of, these bittersweet feelings about it. As you get further into the Flash Sideways, you see that Locke's attitude about life is a lot better there. At least if it was real, but I suppose you could say it is. Insofar as you can perceive something, that's what makes anything real, really. But I'm not going to get into that. What Kate does? Oh boy. This might be one of the few times I have to separate Part 1 and Part 2 of a two-parter. Because Part 2 is the one where Saeed gets killed and then comes back to life, and it's kind of... I'm going to put this one down here by Solitary. Just for that whole Saeed situation. Yeah, I'm doing it. This thing is getting too big, man. It's not barely fitting on the screen anymore. Okay, so what was I saying? What Kate does? Yeah, this one's not that great either, to be honest. This one's got to be at least a C. Like, at least, as in, at most, a C, I think is what I mean. The Hunting Party? It's not as good as the Hunting Party. I'm starting to think the Hunting Party is a little too low here. I'm going to move that one up a little bit. Like, at least get it up by Collision. I'm going to put What Kate did right here. Or What Kate does, I mean. And we're going to move the Hunting Party over here. Yeah, because I definitely like that one better than these two. So, yeah. There's not a lot to say about this one. Like, What Kate does. It's like... I don't remember anything that happens. It's something about Sawyer. I think she follows Sawyer around. Or he sees her at the airport or something. Or is this after that? Oh, isn't this also the one where they torture Saeed? Like, they touch him with the freaking hot poker thing? It's like, good lord, man. They're just not pulling any punches with hurting people in this show, I tell you. Sometimes. I do like the badassery of how Jack takes the poison pill, as a way of calling the guy's bluff. Like, if this is really poison, let's see. And he swallows it. That's pretty cool. I wish there was more of that Jack in this season. But, but then he goes back to being all, stupid. I don't know. Let's see. The Substitute? I kind of like this episode. I know some people don't. I know a lot of people don't, actually. I just find it relatable. I like the atmosphere of it. I like the school atmosphere. I mean, I know that's stupid, but, the idea of Locke trying something different, just to get to see a different side of him and see how he deals with it, it tells you more about, like, his character. Like, when I see him open that book and tell his class to, open their books to page 234 or whatever, like, it's surprising to see him being that assertive as a teacher, because you don't think... He never struck me as the kind of person that would be that assertive, or that would be that comfortable with bossing other people around. Which I know that's kind of what a teacher's supposed to do, but still. It's, like, really fun to see. And then he gets to interact with Ben in the school, and I just love that little crossover, because anytime Locke and Ben get to interact, I think that's a good thing. In fact, yeah, I gotta put this in... I'll put it in A, but it's gotta be a pretty low A. Like, I'll put it over Namaste. I'll put it under The Shape of Things to Come. Yeah, that seems good. Yeah, I like this episode, though. It's just fun. There's more of that in Dr. Linus. Dr. Linus is another guilty pleasure of mine, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The Lighthouse. Jack destroys it. I remember that. It's really fascinating that this is like, oh, this must be how Jacob knew where everybody lived. But is that really how he knew? Like, if he's all powerful, why do you need some lighthouse to tell him? I don't know. Like, any normal person could come to this thing and, like, look in here and see some random picture, but then what is he going to do? Cross-reference it with Google Maps? I mean, I don't know. Like, that's the best that anybody else could do. You know what? I'm not going to stop asking questions. I'm just going to put this in here somewhere. It's got to be a B, like a mid-B. Maybe right around here with Eggtown. This seems pretty good. Right between Eggtown and the Little Prince. Sundown is creepy as hell. And that's about all it is. It has the creepy song at the end. It has the smoke monster attack. It's got sun in the title, but I don't remember the sun really doing much of anything. I remember Saeed sort of coming and turning like all messy and evil and looking with that creepy smile on his face. So I guess it is another chance that Saeed gets to smile. So there is that. But then Claire is like in the hole and she's saying, oh, he's gonna come get you and all this crap because she's crazy now. Actually, what episode was that revealed that she was crazy? Wasn't that episode 4? Do I need to move that one up a little bit for that? I don't think so. I don't think Crazy Claire was really ever all that interesting. It's just like, oh, hey, it's another Rousseau. Ha-ha. You know, but is it really... I don't know. Like, why did she think that the others kidnapped her kid when she willfully left him in the forest? Was she not of sound mind then? Because as far as I know, she was, but I guess that was never really established. So, oh well. I'm gonna put you right here. Wait. No. This needs to be lower, dude. This needs to be like a C. Right here. Right down here by the hunting party. No, it's worse than the hunting party. I'll put it in between these two, because something needs to separate them. So that'll work. Dr. Linus, like I said, guilty pleasure here. Sorry I keep moving the screen, but oh man, you're not going to be able to see this whole thing. Well, I can't drag these unless I scroll down. So I have to scroll down to drag them, so... Dr. Linus, I'm going to put in, like, right here at the bottom of A. It's not better than the other 48 days, but yeah. I like it, though. Once again, Ben and Locke together is just always fun. Well, this one was more like Ben and Alex together. And sometimes, again, the show was getting a little too self-aware, and Rousseau's coming in here saying, oh, we insist, even if we have to kidnap you. Yet again, with characters sounding like they're talking to the audience more than to each other. But then again, I mean, referencing yourself, I guess, is nothing wrong with that, really. It was funny, I agree. Recon. Okay, so Widmore's coming back to the island. I have no idea why. He's making some deal with Sawyer, and it's all stupid, and Sawyer's going out with Charlotte. Oh my god, I don't even care. Go in the C rank and just... You know what? You can be a D rank. Fuck that. Alright. Oh, here we go. Okay, so there are good moments in Season 6, and Abaturno is one of them. Abaturno, in fact... Shit, let me drop it off here so I can scroll up. Abaturno might be our final SS here. I said I'll limit myself to 5 of them. Well, here, there's your 5. I'll put this one over Trisha Tanaka is Dead, just for the sake of, you know... Because Trisha Tanaka is Dead is my guilty pleasure. But Abaturno, in fact, Abaturno might be better than Greatest Hits, even. It's not better than Walkabout, no. But yeah, it's like the 3rd best episode of the show, I think, in my opinion. I'm not even going to bother explaining why. You know, if you've seen it, you know. That's all there is to it. Besides, I need to hurry up and finish this. The package, oh, well, the package is Desmond. I guess they put him in a box and put him in a locker, and he's on the sub, and now they're going to bring him out and do these experiments on him, and these electromagnetic experiments because Widmore needs to know some crap about some crap. You know, it's funny the subject never comes up of, like, them using this stuff for monetary gain, because you'd think that's what they'd want to do with it. They'd want to sell it, you know, or use it for applications in the real world. But no, it's just like, I want to use it on this one guy because I'm mad that he has a crush on my daughter or something. I don't know. I'm just going to put it in C. Put it right about there. Put it under I do. Seems about right. This is another case of episodes of a season blending into each other. It's like, I see the title, it's just like, oh, it's in that general vicinity of what was going on there. And it's just like, whatever. There's so many titles in Season 6 that are like, the something. The package. The recruit. The last recruit. The candidate. It's just so... The titles are so boring, man. I'm telling you. Okay, but wait. Not so fast. I'm starting to come down pretty hard on Season 6 here, but... I will say, the Happily Ever After completely won me over. I love Happily Ever After. I thought this episode was brilliant. I'm putting it in S. I don't know where in S just yet. Let me look a little closer. Is this better than the Season 2 finale? Ooh, God. I think I'm fine with it where it is, honestly. I don't know, because I was with all these people. They were complaining on the message boards about Season 6. And people were getting so angry, and they were just like, oh, this is it. We're running out of time, and they're not answering any questions. But then this episode came along, and I don't know, man. There's just... It goes back to that whole butterfly effect thing. It's a Desmond episode, so of course it's going to be good. It's going to have the time travel stuff, and he gets back there, and he discovers... You know, that what the connection of how this world relates to the one that we're in. and how the people in this world would be able to remember that world again if he could just shake them awake. And so he goes around starting to do that, and he's riding around in the car, putting the glasses on his eyes, just looking like the ultimate hero. And he's just so cool, and I love him. And yeah, this episode, I loved it. I will always love it. It's always my favorite, one of my favorite season 6 episodes, for sure. I almost want to put it higher than this, dude. It just talking about it now, oh man. There's no way in hell I can put it above special, though. I could put it above, a Fleur. Put it above orientation. I think I might. No, I need to just leave it where it is, because Deus Ex Machina, yeah. Pilot Part 1, yeah. Catch 22, yeah. Yeah, no, let's leave it where it is. Okay. And this follows up with Everybody Loves Hugo. I always kind of felt like these 2 episodes, Happily Ever After and Everybody Loves Hugo, were kind of like 2 episodes in one, or 1 episode in 2. I don't know, because they're really closely related. It's just more of the same. He's going and doing the same thing with Hugo. Hugo gets with Libby, and they kiss on the beach. They finally get to have their picnic in the fake world, and everything is good. It's just such a happy episode, and Hurley's at the concert. He's making a big announcement. I can put this easily above The Man Behind the Curtain. I can put this above In Translation. Well, yeah, I'll put it right there. Everybody Loves Hugo, I think, is still better. The Brig is better. 316. I'm going to stop looking at this. I'm not going to change this much once I get it done. Like, we're almost done here, so. Anyway, back to the boring titles. The Last Recruit. So The Last Recruit is where I guess Jack and, like, the Man in Black finally start to meet up with each other, and their camps come together, and they start talking, and they're just walking around, and just blah, blah, blah. And I kind of just don't care, so I'm going to put it at the bottom of, you know what? I'll put it in C, actually. Maybe the top of C. It's probably, no, it's not better than Fire and Water. It's probably better than I Do, though. Yeah. You know, the most exciting thing about this is, like, where I'm going to put the final episode, because that's the most divisive one. I can't promise anything. It's probably just going to go somewhere in the middle. So the candidate is more just the same, really. It's just people meeting up and walking around and putting bombs on planes and shit and making hard decisions about blah, blah, blah and whatever. And, I can't see myself putting this anywhere else. Like, these 2 episodes are basically, like, the same thing, just about. I mean, in The Flash Sideways, it's interesting because they're starting to come together and realize they're connected, and they haven't quite gotten there yet, but they're just doing it piece by piece, and Jack says, I want to do the surgery for Locke. You know what? I love that flashback, actually. Yeah, I'm going to move this up a little bit, and that's not a flashback, it's a Flash Sideways. But yeah, seeing Jack do the surgery for Locke, and then Locke saying, I hope someone does for you what you just did for me. No, that's a pretty beautiful moment. That's definitely worthy of a high B. I'll put it right here by LAX Part 1. Maybe next to Par Avion. No, let's put it under Par Avion, yeah. Par Avion's really fighting for that top B spot, I tell you. Oh, and then we have Across the Sea. Okay. Well, I don't know, man. I don't really like it, you know. I want to, because I can see sort of the appeal. I love the idea that we're getting to see Jacob and the Man in Black, and they're like where they came from and how they grew up and all this stuff, but so much of it is just mumbo jumbo. Like, you know, it's like there's that one scene where the Man in Black is trying to do the wheel thing or whatever, you know, do the wet. And Jacob comes in there and says, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm going to leave this place. And Jacob is like, how? And then the Man in Black is like, because I'm special. That alone, yeah. This is right down here with Stranger in a Strange Land. I can't. I just can't with it. What they died for? Oh, this one's heartbreaking. And it feels so much like, I mean, the body count in this show really ramps up at this point. It starts ramping up big time, and it feels less, I don't know, like I feel like I don't understand why they felt the need to do it, you know? Jin and Sun dying is bad enough, you know? And the whole point of somebody dying is like, that's it. I'm basically paraphrasing Rita here, but like, that's it. But you can't, you know, it's like you can't even feel sad for them because they're still alive in this fake world. So it's like, how are you supposed to know what to feel? You have these opposing emotions happening at the same time. You have this relief that, oh, okay, well, at least they're still alive over there. But I don't know. It ruins the potency of like what they died for, basically. And I don't know. I just don't feel it really. I think this has got to be a C. You know, elsewhere, nothing else. I mean, everything else is just, yeah, more walking around and more like Jack talking to the man in black. It's more like the man in Jack. What are these two right here? This is the other woman, and oh yeah, this probably goes right in. No, it's better than those, though. All of us cowboys had daddy issues. Yeah, that's right about. I guess I can stick it in here with Sundown. This seems about right. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of C tier. I guess season 6 really is as bad as I thought. I wasn't sure how bad it was going to be. So then we have the end. Well, okay. How do I put this? Because after everything else, after all the complaining I've done about unanswered questions, unexplained mysteries, and stuff like that, honestly, I thought the finale was pretty freaking beautiful. You know, they pulled stuff together, and yeah, there was, like, once you get past the part of, like, oh, well, they didn't meet what you were expecting them to do, and you just look at what they actually did do, and, you know, the way that they brought the characters together, and the moment with Charlie and Claire, and how he finally has his awakening at the same time as she's having her baby, and he starts crying as he looks at her, and just, there's these moments that just, it's like, I don't know, they're just so freaking beautiful, and the score from Michael Giacchino is unbelievable. And I know I'm just falling off the deep end here. People are like, oh god, he's going to put it at the top. I'm not going to put it at the top. But I'm not going to put it at the bottom either. I think it's reasonable to put it right about here in A rank. Maybe at the top of A. Right up here by The Man from Tallahassee. I think it was a fine enough way to roll out the show. And the last couple of times that I've watched it, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked the music. When Jack passes everything on to Hurley, it feels like there's this big change happening. The whole vibe of the island changes the moment he does it. And there's just so many of these little artful moments, these shots, and things that, you know, you can't really express through just simple words. There is the final fight with John and Locke. And when, I don't know why Jack calls him Locke as he runs toward him, when he was just saying, oh, you dishonor his memory by wearing his face. And yet when he runs at him with a knife, he's like, Locke! Like, okay. I guess he really had some pent-up emotion against the real Locke, and he wanted to take it out on this other guy. Maybe that's what it was. But again, it's me writing the story and not them. If I was the god of that world, I could write it myself, but I can't. So I think this is where we ended up here. This is it. But yeah, it was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful finale, and Jack and his dad at the end in the church and everything. I mean, I don't know. My mom, honestly, was disappointed. And maybe it's because, like, she was late in her cancer phase and she was barely able to concentrate on the show or whatever. But yeah, she didn't really like it. I was kind of mid on it at first because I wanted more answers, but after I watched it a second time and then a third time, I came to realize how beautiful it really was, and just, I feel like they did about as good as anybody could do. Like, sure, we could have come up with more answers, but it would have taken more time. We already knew we weren't getting them by the time we were halfway into this season, so I think it was easier, at least for me personally, it was easier to deal with it because I already knew, I'd already figured out that, okay, this is it. Like, this is all we're getting, so might as well just ride it out. And I think Happily Ever After is really when I realized that, because that episode just blew me for a loop. It's one of my favorite. I feel like Happily Ever After really should be higher than this. But, you know what, just as a last second ass pull, I'm going to put it over here by Catch-22, these two together. But Orientation, though, man, I tell you. I can't help but look at these, like, the placement of Orientation and think, well, this is just nostalgia goggles, really. Just, was it really that great of an episode? I don't know. But yeah, like, it kind of was. I feel like, it's not so much about how entertaining the episode is, as sometimes how essential it is. And this was pretty essential for a lot of things that came up later in the show. But it was also essential for establishing a lot of the things that led to the disappointment in the first place. So, but at the end of the day, man, like, I love Lost, and I always will. And if they ever reboot it, which I feel like it's only a matter of time. Of course, Rite said the same thing like 5 years ago, and I don't know, I thought he had some awesome ideas, though. His idea about the Hurley bird being like a Dharma parrot that repeats things back to you, and the last thing he repeated before Dharma got wiped out was Hurley's name, so he's been going around squawking Hurley's name for the last 30 years. That shit is awesome. That is an awesome story. Man, it would be worth rebooting Lost just for that alone, man. Not really, but still. This is my list. I'm sticking to it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. This has been a very long video. And I don't know when I'm going to edit it, but anyway, that's all for now. I will talk at you later, and stay lost.